Chapter 4028. Lin Feng did not say anything else. He was waiting for the cursed doll to make the final decision. The cursed doll would have its own opinion. That item has great implications. It's related to several treasures, said the cursed doll. What does it have to do with treasures? Lin Feng asked curiously. 9 prefectures lantern, said the cursed doll. Upon hearing the words, Lin Feng was shocked. The 9 prefectures lantern was definitely the most mysterious treasure in the 9 prefectures world. It was said that the 9 prefectures world should have been destroyed in the battle before the end of the Xiantian realm. However, the 9 prefectures world was stabilized by the 9 prefectures lamp. Therefore, many worlds were destroyed. However, the 9 prefectures world was still intact. Of course, this was only a legend. It was hard to say whether it was true or not. However, there was no smoke without fire. Since there was such a legend, Lin Feng believed it to a large extent. Lin Feng had seen the 9 prefectures lantern before. This could be traced back to the early days of his cultivation. But after that, Lin Feng never saw the 9 prefectures lanterns again. The 9 prefectures lantern was not only a precious treasure to the human race, but it also had a special meaning. Many people had tried to find the 9 prefectures lantern, but to no avail. Lin Feng asked, "Are you saying that the item you were looking for is closely related to the 9 prefectures lantern?" The cursed doll nodded. "That's right. It's said that the item can be used to find the 9 prefectures lantern." Lin Feng was shocked. If that was the case, the item was too valuable. If he could find the 9 prefectures lantern, it would be a heaven-defying harvest. This was especially true for the human race. If he could obtain one of the 9 prefectures lanterns, it would be of great help. Lin Feng had heard of another rumor before. It was related to the 9 prefectures lantern. According to the rumor, if he could obtain the 9 prefectures lantern, he could rely on the wonders of the 9 prefectures lantern to resolve the crisis brought about by the destruction of an era, and he could survive until the next era. Whether this statement was true or not was unknown for the time being. Despite that, this legend became the main reason why countless people went crazy over the 9 continents lantern. However, no one had been able to find the 9 continents lantern despite the countless years that had passed. Lin Feng was naturally very interested in the 9 continents lantern. His natal magic treasure, the primal chaos ancient lamp, was forged from the inspiration of the 9 continents lamp. "What kind of thing is that?" Lin Feng asked. "It's an ancient map. It's very mysterious. You can use it to find the 9 continent lantern." The cursed doll said, "The 9 prefectures lantern should still be in the 9 prefectures world, right?" Lin Feng said, "That's not necessarily true. The 9 prefectures lamp may have left the 9 prefectures world long ago. Of course, it may still be in the 9 prefectures world. If we can comprehend the map, we can naturally obtain useful clues." The cursed doll said. Then he asked, "You're saying that you can lure out that fellow, immeasurable Taoist? How are we going to lure that fellow out?" "Hee, you'll know when the time comes. However, before we lure that Taoist out, let's find a place to refine the origin energy we obtained earlier," Lin Feng said. "All right." The cursed doll nodded. Then he left with Lin Feng. The two of them found a secluded place in the forest. Lin Feng set up a few concealment formations. Then the two of them went into seclusion to refine the origin energy they obtained earlier. Currently, Lin Feng was at the 3rd heavenly layer of the Emperor Celestial sect. He wondered how high his cultivation level would be after refining the origin energy. The cursed doll said, "Although I don't want to admit that guy's words, I have to admit that his origin source is different from other cultivators' origin source. His origin source contains a stronger, purer, and higher level energy. The value of that energy is extraordinary. Once it's refined, it'll greatly benefit one's cultivation. Moreover, that energy can stimulate one's body and develop one's potential. It can even remove the impurities in one's body and heal one's hidden injuries. It's extremely mysterious. If you're lucky, you might be able to obtain some inheritance or memories of that world from the origin energy. That way, you'll have a better understanding of that world. Hearing that, Lin Feng's face revealed a shocked expression. It was just a ball of origin energy, yet it had so many uses. It was truly unbelievable. The cursed doll's serious expression meant that he was not lying. It was no wonder that the cursed doll wanted to refine that fellow's origin energy so badly. After hearing the cursed doll's words, Lin Feng's heart began to itch. He also wanted to refine that fellow's origin energy as soon as possible to see if it was as magical as the cursed doll said. Lin Feng began to refine the terrifying existence's origin energy. As the origin energy was refined, a large amount of pure energy gradually fused into his body. The pure energy gradually fused into Lin Feng's limbs, meridians, and flesh. Not long after, Lin Feng felt that many impurities in his body began to be expelled. This made Lin Feng very shocked. Lin Feng had always thought that his body was very clean, and there were very few impurities that could be expelled. However, only now did he realize that there were still so many impurities hidden in his body. As the impurities were expelled from his body, Lin Feng felt that his body had become much more relaxed. This feeling was quite comfortable. As time passed, a large amount of pure energy was absorbed by Lin Feng. This kind of pure energy was an invisible improvement to one's talent. It was invisible to the naked eye, but it could be felt during cultivation. The specific manifestations were an increase in cultivation speed, an easier comprehension of Tao, and so on. Suddenly, Lin Feng found a ball of memory in the pure energy. After he opened the ball of memory, Lin Feng instantly saw a boundless world from the ball of memory. At the top of the world, above the boundless sky, there was a huge group of palaces that were suspended in midair. The group of palaces was golden and dazzling. In this ball of memory, this terrifying existence was filled with reverence for the group of palaces. That place was an incomparably sacred place in his heart. However, this terrifying existence had never entered the group of palaces because he was not qualified to enter that place. Chapter 4029. Lin Feng thought of a possibility. Could that group of palaces be the place where the mastermind lived? The more Lin Feng thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. After all, even that guy treated that group of palaces as a holy land. He was so powerful, but he still didn't have the qualifications to enter that group of palaces. From this, it could be seen that the existence living in that group of palaces had the qualifications to be the mastermind behind the scenes. Of course, all of this was just Lin Feng's guess. Lin Feng planned to ask that terrifying existence after he finished cultivating. That guy's head was still there, and his soul hadn't been destroyed. He wondered if he could find some useful information from that terrifying existence. Lin Feng began to focus on improving his strength. In the end, Lin Feng's realm broke through 2 levels in a row. He stopped at the Emperor Ancestor realm's 5th heavenly layer. This made Lin Feng very happy. He was already very satisfied to be able to increase his cultivation by 2 heavenly layers. After all, Lin Feng's accumulation was too powerful. It was extremely difficult to increase one's cultivation. Now, Lin Feng's cultivation was steadily increasing. This kind of increase was neither too fast nor too slow. It was very in line with Lin Feng's cultivation principles. Lin Feng familiarized himself with the power after the breakthrough. Lin Feng felt that the Fa Li in his dantian had become even more majestic. Every time one broke through to the Emperor Ancestor realm, their strength would be greatly improved. However, Lin Feng heard that breaking through to the Emperor realm would be a different world. Therefore, Lin Feng was very much looking forward to breaking through to the Emperor realm. Of course, Lin Feng also knew that breaking through to the Emperor realm wasn't so easy. It could be described as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Therefore, this couldn't be rushed. Lin Feng believed that with his talent, he only needed to lay a good foundation. Breaking through to the Emperor realm would definitely be a matter of course. After Lin Feng came out of seclusion, the cursed doll was still cultivating. An energy ball condensed from curse power appeared outside the cursed doll's body. The ball of energy enveloped the cursed doll. The cursed doll should be undergoing a metamorphosis at this moment. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged as his spiritual will entered the gourd of fortune. There were 3 people suppressed inside the gourd of fortune. In addition to the head of the terrifying existence, there were also 2 sovereign lords of the 10,000 imperial families of the Sacred War Alliance. Lin Feng didn't have time to convert them. How does it feel to have only one head left? Lin Feng transmitted his voice to the terrifying existence's head. Brat, your existence will definitely be known by the people of that world. When that time comes, you will die a miserable death. Your fate will definitely be 100 times more miserable than mine. The head said in a sinister voice. Sooner or later, I will overturn that world, trample on those masterminds, and behead them. Lin Feng said indifferently. The head sneered. Boy, you're just boasting shamelessly. You don't know what kind of existence the ruler of that world is. If only you knew, then you would know how laughable your words are. Lin Feng sneered. Those existences might be undefeatable in your eyes, but in my eyes they are nothing. My ancestor almost destroyed them. I believe that sooner or later my achievements will surpass my ancestors. I will do what my ancestor couldn't. Boast. Keep boasting. Your ancestor is strong. That doesn't mean you're strong. But now at most, you're just a slightly stronger ant. How dare you boast about yourself here? How laughable. The head said eerily. If you know what's good for you, you should let me go and acknowledge me as your master. That way, you can still live. Ha! How foolish. I'm even suspecting if your head has been injured so badly that you've become such an idiot. That's why you said those words. Lin Feng cursed without holding back. There was no need to be polite when dealing with such a bad guy. Boy, I'm looking forward to seeing the scene of you dying miserably, the head said with a sinister smile. He was very calm. He definitely didn't believe that Lin Feng had a way to turn the situation around. He felt that Lin Feng was dead meat. It was no wonder that this guy would have such thoughts. Perhaps any living being in that world would have the same thoughts as this guy. I've decided to purify you. Let's see how many secrets you're hiding. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. Then he cast the great purification technique, and a powerful purification force poured into the fortune gourd. There were fortune chains in the fortune gourd. The fortune chains wrapped around the head and prevented him from struggling. Then the purification force tried to invade the head. However, Lin Feng failed in the end. This was because an extremely strange force kept surging out of the head. That strange force resisted the purification force from invading. Lin Feng frowned. It wasn't easy to purify this guy's head. However, Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. Just because he couldn't purify it Now didn't mean that he couldn't purify it in the future. After some time, when this guy was almost exhausted, he should be able to purify it. Lin Feng checked on the other two emperor lords who were suppressed. He realized that the magical powers in their bodies were still very strong. It wouldn't be easy to purify them. Lin Feng planned to make his move after some time. During this time, he would continue to exhaust their magical powers and weaken their strength. This would make it easier for Lin Feng to purify them. 2 days later, the cursed doll also came out of seclusion. This guy seemed to be very excited. It seemed like he had obtained a lot of benefits. The cursed doll sighed. What a pity. I only obtained a quarter of the source energy. How good would it be if there were a few more living beings like this? Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. You're really daring. This guy has been suppressed in the Forbidden God world for countless years. He just escaped not long ago. Otherwise, even if all of us worked together, we wouldn't be a match for him, let alone other existences. Hee, I'm just thinking about it. The cursed doll grinned. Then he said, now, shouldn't we think of a way to lure that immoral Taoist Wu Liang out? Lin Feng nodded and said, no problem. My method can definitely lure that guy out. Thousand Tao City, a famous ancient city of the Sacred War Alliance. Currently, a large number of cultivators had gathered outside the city. Even the Thousand Tao City's city lord had personally appeared. It was said that soon there would be a big shot coming here. Chapter 4030. Uncle, may I know who this important person is? A cultivator asked the Thousand Tao City's city lord beside him. From the way he addressed him, it was obvious that the person who asked the question was the city lord's nephew. Our Thousand Tao City belongs to the soaring celestial spirit race. The person who came this time is an expert from the soaring celestial spirit race who came out of the stone. An expert from the stone? Doesn't that mean he's an imperial lord? Many people exclaimed. Monarch-level existences were high and mighty. They looked down on the heavens and swept through all directions. Who could contend against them? Even among the imperial clans of the myriad races, there weren't many imperial lords. As for the cultivators of the heavenly sage great world, there were as many of them as there was water in the ocean. The arrival of an imperial lord naturally attracted attention. It was no wonder that the Thousand Tao City's city lord had personally led people to welcome this imperial lord. Rumble, rumble, at that moment, an earth-shattering sound came from the distance. Strange beasts were rushing over, pulling beast carriages. The cultivators on the carriages looked back in horror, not knowing what was going on. He's here. That lord is here. The Thousand Tao City's city lord said excitedly. Something's not right. These people look panicked, as if they're being chased by someone. Are they the people we're waiting for? Many people couldn't help but feel puzzled. I don't think so. The person we're waiting for is an expert with an imperial lord. Look at how miserable these people are. How do they look like experts? They're like stray dogs. Yeah, these people do look like stray dogs. Many people couldn't help but start discussing. However, the Thousand Tao City's city lord said in a low voice, no, these people are the people we're waiting for. The reason why the Thousand Tao City's city lord said this was because he recognized an old friend. What? These people who look like stray dogs are actually experts from the soaring celestial race? The cultivators exclaimed in disbelief. This was too inconceivable. They didn't dare to believe it. The soaring celestial spirit race had an imperial lord with them. Why were they panicking? Something must have happened. Let's go. Thousand Tao City's city lord said in a deep voice. Then he soared into the sky. The cultivators behind him also soared into the sky and flew towards the group of people in the distance. "Brother Shinto, what happened? Why are you so panicked?" After the two sides met, they stopped in the void. The Thousand Tao Cities city lord looked at a cultivator and asked in confusion. That cultivator was called Shintabao. He was a Saint Emperor level expert from the Flying Immortal Spirit clan and was an old friend of the Thousand Tao Cities city lord. "Something's wrong. Something big had happened. We encountered bandits on the way," Shintabao said with an ugly expression. Everyone was stunned. Did they encounter bandits on the way? What kind of bandits were they? How dare they rob the experts of the soaring Celestial Spirit clan? Furthermore, the soaring Immortal Spirit clan did not only have sage emperors. Furthermore, there was an emperor realm expert overseeing it. Those bandits dared to rob them. Weren't they courting death? Soon, the Thousand Tao Cities city lord and the others realized that something was amiss. That was because the soaring Celestial Spirit clans, people were fleeing in panic. It was as if they had encountered a primordial beast. It did not seem like they had encountered bandits at all. However, Shintabao was not lying. They had encountered bandits, but those bandits were too powerful. "Where's Lord?" the Thousand Tao Cities city lord asked. Shintabao said with an ugly expression, "Lord was captured by the bandits." "What? Lord was captured by the bandits?" The Thousand Tao Cities city lord and the others cried out in alarm. They could not believe their ears. That lord was an Emperor realm expert. An Emperor realm expert. Captured by bandits? Just how terrifyingly strong were those bandits? Just thinking about it made one's hair stand on end. Fortunately, the bandits did not chase after us. Shintabao said with a long sigh. "Bandits?" Brother Shinta used the word bandits earlier. Could it be that there was only one bandit? The Thousand Tao Cities city lord asked in shock. Yes, there was only one bandit. That bandit was fat and wore a Taoist robe. He had a wretched appearance. He seemed to be a Taoist who had fallen from grace and became a bandit. Even Lord was not a match for that bandit and was suppressed by that bandit. It was not easy for us to escape from that bandit's clutches. Shintabao said, as if he had just survived a calamity. Shintabao was a big shot in the soaring Celestial Spirit clan. He was usually aloof and had a calm demeanor. However, he was currently in a very sorry state. Even so, no one mocked him, because what Shintabao had experienced was too terrifying. A bandit was actually powerful to such an inconceivable degree. It was truly inconceivable. No one dared to believe that it was real. However, everything was real. Shouldn't we report this matter to our superiors? We need the clan to send experts to deal with that Taoist. The Thousand Tao Cities city lord said, "Yes, let's return to the city quickly. I need to report this matter through the sacrificial ceremony." Shintabao said. The group quickly returned to the city. This matter was quickly reported. When the upper echelons of the soaring Celestial Spirit clan found out about this matter, they were furious. An Emperor-level expert of the clan was actually kidnapped by a bandit. This was truly a great humiliation. Soon, another piece of news was sent back to the clan. It was said that the expert had made a ransom request. That bandit wanted 50 million immortal stones, 1,000 immortal medicines, and 1,000 immortal pills in order to release the Emperor-level expert. This matter caused the upper echelons of the soaring Celestial Spirit clan to be furious. Even for a colossus like the Myriad Race Royal Clan, taking out so many things would cause a great loss to their vitality. The upper echelons of the soaring Celestial Spirit clan hoped to negotiate. However, that bandit's attitude was very unyielding. He would definitely not negotiate. At that time, he would directly kill the hostage. This matter spread like wildfire. Everyone was shocked. Everyone was guessing who that Taoist was. He actually dared to be so audacious. He even dared to kidnap the emperor-level expert of the Myriad Race royal clan. Moreover, he even wanted the Myriad Race royal clan to pay a ransom to redeem the emperor-level expert. In the end, the soaring celestial spirit clan compromised and took out the ransom demanded by the Taoist. Both parties would conduct the transaction outside the Thousand Tao city. This matter caused a huge commotion. A large number of cultivators headed towards the Thousand Tao city. Chapter 40:31. Outside of Thousand Tao city, people came and went. It was very lively. A large number of cultivators had gathered here. The Flying Heavens immortal spirit races, 4 Emperor Lords, had all arrived. These Emperor Lords all had extremely gloomy expressions. An Imperial Lord of the soaring celestial race had been kidnapped and extorted. This news had spread far and wide. It was a great humiliation for the race. Now, the 4 Imperial Lords of the soaring celestial race wanted to redeem the kidnapped Imperial Lord before attacking the damned Taoist. They had to beat the Taoist half to death. Otherwise, how could they vent their anger? Everyone was waiting for the Taoist to arrive. Many people couldn't help but discuss, will the Taoist not dare to show up? That's very possible. It's normal for the Taoist to not show up after seeing so many experts from the soaring celestial race. That Taoist is really audacious. He even dared to kidnap someone from the soaring celestial race. I'm really curious who that guy is. He's here. Look, he's here. Someone pointed into the distance. In the distance, a middle-aged cultivator was tied up with ropes. A Taoist priest was chasing the middle-aged cultivator away. That middle-aged cultivator was none other than the emperor rank expert from the soaring immortal spirit clan who was captured by Qin Wentian. You're going too far. After seeing their tribesmen tied up, the 4 Emperor Lords' faces turned extremely gloomy. Their eyes were spewing fire. If looks could kill, the Taoist priest would have been killed by the 4 Emperor Lords' looks many times over. Shit, isn't that damn Taoist Wu Liang, that bastard? Someone shouted, "Who's Wu Liang?" Someone asked curiously. That guy has been secretly excavating the tombs of the various great powers in recent years. He even went to the Myriad Races cemetery and excavated the tombs there. Many factions are still looking for this damned Taoist. However, I heard that this damned Taoist fled the heavenly sage great world a few years ago. He must have gotten enough benefits and escaped. Who would have thought that this damned Taoist would return? A cultivator said. I remember now. I've also heard about this death Taoist. Why did this death Taoist come back? You can't just rub the wool off a sheep, a cultivator said speechlessly. This time, this damned Taoist didn't seem to have dug up other people's tombs. However, this damned Taoist actually became a bandit who robbed the sovereign lord. When did this damned Taoist become so powerful? Someone gritted his teeth and said he didn't know if his ancestor's grave had been dug up by the immeasurable Taoist. The immeasurable Taoist would go and rob tombs whenever he had nothing better to do. He didn't know how many ancient tombs had been excavated by this damned Taoist priest. Lin Feng already knew of countless ancient tombs. So what didn't Lin Feng know? This damned Taoist has dug up so many graves. How many treasures has he found? There's no need to make a fuss about his cultivation increasing. Someone said viciously, my ancestor's grave was dug up by this damned Taoist priest. There's one of my clan's greatest treasures inside. This damned Taoist priest actually dares to appear here. I'm going to kill this damned Taoist priest. Someone said coldly, my ancestor's grave was also dug up by this damned Taoist priest. This damned Taoist priest is a bastard who deserves to be chopped up by 1,000 knives. Even in my dreams, I want to chop this damn Taoist priest into pieces." Another cultivator said. The surroundings were in an uproar. Countless cultivators were glaring at the immeasurable Taoist priest. The 4 emperor-level experts were all astonished. They didn't expect that the Taoist priest who had kidnapped their clan's sovereign lord expert would be chased down by everyone like a rat on the street. It seemed that this damned Taoist priest had done a lot of evil deeds. The Taoist priest that appeared here wasn't the real immeasurable Taoist priest. He was Lin Feng's great transformation technique. His great transformation technique was infused with the power of the great fate technique. It was enough to fool everyone. The demon-revealing mirror. It couldn't reflect Lin Feng's true body. "I've brought the person. Have you guys brought the item?" The immeasurable Taoist priest looked at the 4 sovereign lords of the flying heavens' immortal spirit race with a haughty look on his face. Even though the crowd was riled up and surrounded by powerful beings, the immeasurable Taoist priest's face wasn't red at all, and he wasn't panting at all. It was as though he wasn't worried about his situation at all. This damn Taoist priest is really arrogant. Today, this damn Taoist priest won't be able to escape. Many people said viciously, and then a large number of cultivators began to spread out and surround the immeasurable Taoist priest. However, the immeasurable Taoist priest didn't seem to have noticed anything as he looked at the 4 sovereign lords of the flying heavens' immortal spirit race. "I've brought the item. Let's exchange the person and the item." One of the sovereign lords of the flying heavens' immortal spirit race said solemnly, "No, no, no. Hand the item over to me first, after checking it. If there's no problem, I'll hand the person over to you guys." The immeasurable Taoist priest replied. Another sovereign lord said solemnly, "The rules of the world of cultivators have always been the same. 1 hand for the person, 1 hand for the money. There's no such rule as handing over the person after handing over the money." The immeasurable Taoist priest replied indifferently, "There wasn't in the past, but that doesn't mean that there won't be in the future. Isn't there one now?" The sovereign lord's face froze up. His gaze was incomparably dark. The leader of the sovereign lords said, "All right, we'll hand over the item you need first." This sovereign lord's thoughts were simple. He would swallow this anger for now. Later on, after their people had escaped, then he would deal with this damned Taoist priest. Furthermore, there were so many cultivators from various factions who hated this damned Taoist priest to the core. Right now, those cultivators had already surrounded the place. Together with the 5 sovereign lords, the leader of the flying heavens' immortal spirit race had 10,000 reasons to believe this. This damned Taoist priest was definitely going to die. "There's the item you need in here." The sovereign lord took out a storage ring and handed it over to the immeasurable Taoist priest. After checking it thoroughly, the immeasurable Taoist priest confirmed that there was nothing wrong with it and kept the storage ring. Following which, immeasurable Taoist slapped the back of that Emperor Lord level cultivator. That Emperor Lord level cultivator immediately flew towards the 4 Emperor Lords. "Kill this damn Taoist priest." Many people could not help but roar out in rage as they pounced towards the immeasurable Taoist priest. But just then, the immeasurable Taoist priest tore through the void. He then tore through the void and left. "Chase after him. Don't let that damn Taoist priest escape. Dig 3 feet into the ground. We have to find this damned Taoist priest no matter what." Chapter 40:32. I'm rich. 50 million immortal stones is enough to buy 10 emperor weapons. Lin Feng's face bloomed with joy. He pretended to be immeasurable Taoist and extorted the flying immortal spirit race. He was really rich. Other than 50 million immortal stones, there were also 1,000 immortal herbs and 1,000 immortal pills. These things were very beneficial to cultivation. With Lin Feng's current methods, it was too easy to shake off those people chasing after him. Those people couldn't catch up to Lin Feng at all. However, Lin Feng still looked like immeasurable Taoist and didn't change into his original appearance. When he passed by a mountain range, a huge net suddenly fell from the sky and enveloped Lin Feng, following which a Taoist flew out and roared in exasperation, "You impostor! How dare you impersonate this Taoist to get rich? How hateful! This Taoist is going to rob you." Immeasurable Taoist's original body appeared. Lin Feng knew this damn Taoist too well. He was the kind of person who could only take advantage of others and not lose out. Now, someone had pretended to be immeasurable Taoist to kidnap others and extort large amounts of benefits. He was the scapegoat and didn't get any benefits at all. How could immeasurable Taoist tolerate this? He was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. Therefore, immeasurable Taoist appeared. Immeasurable Taoist planned to beat up this guy who dared to impersonate him and then take away all the treasures on this guy. The treasure immeasurable Taoist took out was called God-capturing net. This treasure was extremely powerful. Anyone who was enveloped by this treasure would find it hard to break free. When Lin Feng saw this treasure coming towards him, he quickly took out the heaven-swallowing jar. A powerful suction force surged out from the heaven-swallowing jar and enveloped the God-capturing net. With a whoosh, the God-capturing net was swallowed by the heaven-swallowing jar. "Lin Feng, it's you." Immeasurable Taoist naturally recognized the heaven-swallowing jar. After seeing Lin Feng's heaven-swallowing jar, immeasurable Taoist roared in anger. Shua! With a flash of light, Lin Feng returned to his original appearance. "Hee, damned Taoist, meeting an old friend. Why are you shouting and fighting?" Lin Feng said with a grin, "Immeasurable heavenly lord, you have the nerve to say that we are old friends. I really want to beat you to death." Taoist Wu Yang grumbled. Lin Feng said with a smile, "You're so sneaky. It's not easy to lure you out. Brother, I have no choice but to do this." "You brat, you use my name to blackmail people. Now, give me half of what you got. Also, give me back my God-capturing net." Lin Feng returned the God-capturing net to immeasurable Taoist, then took out 1,000,000 immortal stones and handed it to immeasurable Taoist. F***CK, are you trying to get rid of a beggar? Taoist Wu Yang rolled his eyes and said, 1,000,000 immortal stones, piled up like a mountain. Even a top sect wouldn't be able to spend so many immortal stones in a few decades. You should be content. Lin Feng said. Immeasurable Taoist pursed his lips. He knew that it was not easy to get 1,000,000 immortal stones from Lin Feng. Therefore, he did not continue to pester Lin Feng. Immeasurable Taoist asked, "Why did you lure me out?" "Someone wants to see you." Lin Feng said. "Who?" Immeasurable Taoist looked at him cautiously. Swoosh! In the void, a light flashed, and the cursed doll flew out. Cursed fist. After the cursed doll came out, it immediately threw a punch at Immeasurable Taoist. A powerful curse power coiled around the cursed doll's fist. It looked like the cursed doll's terrifying punch was about to land on Immeasurable Taoist's body. Wu Yang Taoist waved his sleeves and shouted in a low voice, "Boundless Tao Light!" Boundless holy light surged out and formed an 8 trigrams diagram in front of Immeasurable Taoist. When the cursed doll's attack came, it was blocked by the 8 trigrams diagram. "Oh, it's you. I was wondering who it was." Immeasurable Taoist waved his fly whisk. Holy light surged out. The cursed doll was pushed back. "Damn Taoist! You stole my ancient map. Hand it over now. Or else. Do you believe that I won't break your bones? The cursed doll glared at Immeasurable Taoist fiercely. Immeasurable Taoist said, "What do you mean by your ancient map? What a joke. That's an ownerless item. Naturally, it belongs to the fated one." Humph! The cursed doll could not help but snort coldly and said, "This ancient map was originally mine. It was you who ambushed me and snatched it away. You have the nerve to say that you're fated with the ancient map. It's rare to see someone as shameless as you." Immeasurable Taoist said, "So what if I ambushed you? Ambushing is also a skill. If you're so capable, why don't you ambush me too?" The cursed doll trembled in anger. It was rare to see the cursed doll so sullen. However, now that he was facing Immeasurable Taoist, he could only suffer in silence. Lin Feng remembered that the cursed doll and Immeasurable Taoist had explored together before. Weren't they on good terms? How did things end up like this? Lin Feng said, "Calm down, the two of you, we're all friends, aren't we? There's no need to be so hostile, right? This damn Taoist only has eyes for treasures. How can he be friends? If he thought that I was his friend, would he have snatched the ancient map away?" The cursed doll said fiercely, "Immeasurable Heavenly Lord, my ass. You were the one who was heartless first. I even saved you before. I asked you what you were looking for in the endless ghost sand. Why didn't you tell me? What kind of friend is that? A friend means to share blessings together. Since you didn't do it, don't blame me for snatching your things." Immeasurable Taoist was not someone who was easy to deal with. He immediately retorted, "Damn Taoist, you have the nerve to talk about me? You know, so many secret places. Have you brought me to any of them?" The cursed doll cursed and pounced on Immeasurable Taoist again. "Damn Taoist, today I'll beat you up so badly that even your mother won't recognize you. Today I'll tear you apart." Immeasurable Taoist shouted and pounced on the cursed doll. The two of them immediately began to fight each other. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Immeasurable Taoist and the cursed doll were the same kind of people. Neither of them would criticize the other. If there was something good, they would definitely think of him first. If he really cared about these things, then this friend of his would not be able to get along with him. In fact, this was also a very normal thing. It was completely understandable. Lin Feng did not try to stop the fight. Let them fight. One dead person was one less person. Chapter 40:33. The battle between Immeasurable Taoist and the cursed doll finally ended when both of them were exhausted and had no more energy left to continue the battle. The two of them lay on the ground, panting. Their faces were as pale as paper. This was because they had exhausted themselves too much. Lin Feng smiled. "Have you calmed down?" "No." The two of them replied in unison. Lin Feng looked at Taoist Wu Liang and said, "Damned Taoist, where's the ancient map?" Immeasurable Taoist said, "That ancient map is not the complete ancient map. It should only be a part of it." "Oh, only a part of the map?" Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. If it was only a part of the map, then it would be impossible to find the 9 continents' lanterns with just a part of the map. Taoist Wu Liang took out the ancient map and handed it to Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at it carefully and found that it was indeed only a part of the map. "This ancient map is strange. It looks like a mountain range, but I wonder how long it is. Isn't it a little too huge?" Lin Feng couldn't help but look puzzled. There was no mountain range as huge as this in 9 prefectures. Lin Feng had never seen such a huge mountain range in all the places he had been. The cursed doll said, "This should be the Dragon World." "Dragon World?" Lin Feng was surprised. Lin Feng had some ties with the dragon world. Firstly, Lin Feng had cultivated the 9 styles of the true dragon. It was a terrifying divine ability passed down by a true dragon. Secondly, Lin Feng had cultivated the ancestral dragon fists. This was a divine ability passed down by the 3rd ancestral dragon. Of course, the most important thing wasn't that Lin Feng had cultivated a certain divine ability. The most important thing was that Lin Feng had obtained the true dragon token passed down by the 9th true dragon emperor. The true dragon token ruled over the dragon world. With the token, Lin Feng could head to the dragon world and subdue the dragons. In other words, Lin Feng was the master of the dragon world, said the cursed doll. That's right, the dragon world. Aside from the dragon world, no other world would have such a huge mountain range. Lin Feng asked doubtfully, "Why is the mountain range in the dragon realm so huge?" The cursed doll said, "This is because of the laws of the dragon realm. In fact, not only are the mountains in the dragon realm huge, but the creatures in the dragon realm are also huge. Apart from the dragon race, the other races are huge. The flowers, trees, and even the fish in the water are extremely huge." Taoist Wuliang said, "The 9 prefectures lantern is a treasure that can stabilize the 9 prefectures. I never thought that it would appear in the dragon world." The cursed doll sneered and said, "The 9 prefectures lantern once stabilized the 9 prefectures during the Great War between the Scientian life forms. Only then was the 9 prefectures saved. However, the 9 regions had already been severely damaged, especially the power of the macroworld's laws. If the 9 regions were to suffer another heavy blow, then the 9 regions would be completely destroyed. Even the 9 prefectures lantern can't hold down the 9 prefectures. Perhaps the 9 prefectures lanterns were unwilling to let the 9 prefectures be destroyed. Therefore, after that battle, a portion of the 9 prefectures lanterns flew out of the 9 prefectures and went to other worlds." The cursed doll said, "Why did they go to other worlds?" Lin Feng asked, puzzled. The cursed doll said, "This is because the 9 prefectures lantern needs to absorb some of the macro world's energy. I reckon that after the 9 prefectures lantern absorbs the macro world's energy, it will nourish the 9 prefectures and then hopefully protect the 9 prefectures. In reality, the 9 prefectures lantern's efforts are futile. Next, we will have to face the doomsday battle. All the macro worlds will be destroyed, including the 9 prefectures. No one can stop the doomsday battle. Even if someone can stop the doomsday battle, the final result will still be irreversible, because the 5 decay of the heavenly man will cause all living and non-living things to wither and die. This is something that cannot be reversed." The cursed doll clearly had a deep understanding of the doomsday battle and the 5 decay of the heavenly man. Now, his understanding, it was thought-provoking. Lin Feng said, "Make 3 copies of this ancient map, 1 for each of us." Taoist Wuliang shrugged and did not have any objections. There was a reason why he did not have any objections. The ancient map was only an incomplete part. If the ancient map was incomplete, it would be difficult to find the 9 prefectures lantern. Since that was the case, he might as well do the cursed doll a favor. If the ancient map was complete, Taoist Wuliang would definitely not agree to it. Lin Feng made 2 copies of the ancient map, 1 for each of them. Hee. Let's see who's the luckiest among the 3 of us. Whoever gathers the other ancient maps first will be able to obtain the 9 prefectures lantern. The cursed doll said, "Hee. The 9 prefectures lantern is obviously mine. I'm a proper human orthodoxy. I'm the true successor of the 9 prefectures lantern." Taoist Wuliang said with a grin, "You're talking as if you're not a human orthodoxy." Lin Feng could not help but roll his eyes. The cursed doll was speechless. Lin Feng asked, "What do you plan to do next?" Taoist Wuliang said, "I heard that the Myriad Tribe's sacred palace is about to open again. I want to sneak into the Myriad Tribe's sacred palace to cultivate." Uft. Lin Feng laughed and said, "How are you going to enter like this?" Taoist Wuliang said, "Grandpa Taoist has endless means." As soon as he finished speaking, Taoist Wuliang's body swayed, slightly. A moment later, Taoist Wuliang transformed into a rather young, slightly plump, and wretched-looking cultivator. His appearance was much younger than Taoist Wuliang's previous appearance. The Myriad Tribe's sacred palace only allows cultivators below 30,000 years of age to enter. How many years have you been cultivating?" Lin Feng could not help but ask. I've only been cultivating for 800 years. Taoist Wuliang said. Lin Feng was speechless. "Do you think I'll believe your nonsense?" Taoist Wuliang said, "As the saying goes, everything will be fine when you get to the bridge. A hermit naturally has his own plans. When the time comes, you'll know how I managed to enter the Myriad Tribe's sacred palace." "Big Brother Wuliang, you have to help your brother with this kind of thing." The cursed doll leaned forward with a fawning expression. Taoist Wuliang grinned and said, "Of course, no problem." The two of them immediately acted like good brothers. Lin Feng said, "I'm also planning to enter the Myriad Tribe's sacred palace to cultivate. However, before that, I need to make a trip to the fallen angels' territory." Following which, Lin Feng, Taoist Wuliang, and the cursed doll headed toward the fallen angels' territory. Along the way, Lin Feng communicated with Han Xian. Now that Han Xian had become a weapon cultivator, she could no longer be controlled by the fallen angels. Chapter 4034. Late at night, Lin Feng and the others were resting in the forest. Han Xian flew out of the space-time continuum. "You seem to have obtained the first half of the Dark Bible's cultivation method. Now, I will impart the second half of the Dark Bible's cultivation method to you," Han Xian said. Lin Feng was overjoyed. Although the Dark Bible was a demonic scripture, it was equivalent to a top-notch immortal scripture. It was definitely an inheritance that everyone dreamed of obtaining. If he could obtain the complete Dark Bible, it would naturally be a huge help to Lin Feng. "Thank you, Senior." Lin Feng cupped his fists. Han Xian stretched out her slender finger and gently tapped Lin Feng's forehead. Suddenly, a divine light poured into Lin Feng's mind. The divine light contained a mass of memories. That mass of memories was the second half of the Dark Bible's cultivation method. Lin Feng's face lit up with joy. "Great! I obtained the second half of the Dark Bible. The Dark Bible is finally complete." Han Xian said, "The Dark Bible is a very extraordinary cultivation method. However, this cultivation method is also extremely overbearing. Some powerful demonic cultivation methods can often control the cultivator who cultivates this cultivation method. At that time, it is no longer the cultivator controlling the cultivation method, but the cultivation method controlling the cultivator. When such a thing happens, you have to be careful. The slightest carelessness, you may be consigned to eternal damnation. Therefore, although you obtained the Dark Bible, you should still be careful when cultivating." "Yes, I'll remember that," said Lin Feng. Han Xian then continued, "The Dark Bible also records many ancient and powerful divine abilities. However, if you want to comprehend those ancient and powerful divine abilities, you will need to slowly comprehend them yourself." Lin Feng knew that this was naturally an extremely difficult process. Comprehending those divine abilities required not only comprehension, but also great luck. The two did not talk much about this topic. Lin Feng asked, Senior, after leaving the fallen angel tribe, what do you plan to do? Han Xian said, I want to look for the young mistress. The young Miss Han Xian was referring to was naturally the woman who had given birth to a child with Ji Zixu's ancestor. Lin Feng asked, Didn't she die a long time ago? Perhaps there was only one last sustenance left. Even if he had fallen, would his corpse still remain in this world? Han Xian said. Lin Feng nodded, even though he knew that it was almost impossible to find her bones. However, Lin Feng didn't want to deal a blow to Han Xian. Han Xian needed to find some goals in her heart. Only then would she feel that her existence in this world was meaningful. More than a month later, Lin Feng and the others returned to the ancestral land of the fallen angels. After seeing Lin Feng come back, Nayland Monley was extremely happy. Lin Feng didn't see Nayland Manqing and didn't know where this woman went. Of course, Lin Feng didn't think too much about it. This is Nayland Xiong, and the others looked at Han Xian. They felt that Han Xian's aura was extremely familiar. Lin Feng said, This senior is the manifestation of the second half of the Bible of Darkness. The second half of the Bible of Darkness has been transformed into a weapon refiner. Greetings, senior. Nayland Xiong and the others could sense how terrifying Han Xian was, and they quickly bowed to Han Xian. In the past, it was your bloodline that helped me recover my body. I have always been grateful to your bloodline. Han Xian said. Nayland Xiong and the others were overjoyed. They knew how terrifying Han Xian was, and such a powerful existence was grateful to their bloodline. For their bloodline, this was a joyous occasion. Nayland Xiong said, We are very happy to see Senior recover. We don't dare to take credit for this. Hearing these people's words, Han Xian didn't comment and just smiled. Although these people said in unison that they didn't dare to take credit, Han Xian wouldn't skimp on the rewards that were due to them. Han Xian flicked her finger, and a ball of divine light entered Nayland Xiong's mind. She said, I have imparted the second half of the Bible of Darkness to you. Thank you, Senior. Nayland Xiong was overjoyed, and he thanked Han Xian profusely. Han Xian took out 3 jade talismans and handed them to Nayland Xiong. She said, Once the first jade talisman is activated, it can summon a clone of mine. This clone has 70% of my main body's battle prowess. If you encounter any danger, it can be used. It can protect you. The second jade talisman. It is a sensing jade talisman. Once this jade talisman is activated, it will be able to contact me. If I can sense it, I will do my best to rush over and help you solve some problems. The third jade talisman. It is the token to enter Nine Saint Great Demon's cave. Nine Saint Great Demon was an extremely terrifying existence of your fallen angel tribe. I believe you should know about him. Ancestor Nine Saint. Nayland Xiong and the others' eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. As cultivators of the fallen angel tribe, they naturally knew about Nine Saint Great Demon. Rumor had it that Nine Saint Great Demon was an extremely terrifying existence. It was said that in the past, he was able to contend against a devil lord. When Nine Saint Great Demon was alive, the fallen angel tribe's power had reached its peak. At that time, the myriad races reigned supreme. Even the top powers of the 3 highest realms had to take the initiative to befriend the fallen angel tribe. However, later on, Nine Saint Great Demon left to do something extremely important. But even the fallen angel tribe members didn't know what Nine Saint Great Demon had gone to do. After leaving, Nine Saint Great Demon never returned. It was said that even his origin soul lamp had shattered. If the origin soul lamp had shattered, it meant that Nine Saint Great Demon had died. It was hard to imagine how such a powerful expert had died. Following Nine Saint Great Demon's death, the fallen angel tribe had declined greatly. Until today, although the fallen angel tribe was still one of the myriad race's imperial clans, they were ranked near the bottom. In addition, there had been internal strife within the fallen angel tribe a few years ago. The fallen angel tribe's power had declined further. Compared to their peak in the past, the fallen angel tribe was like the difference between heaven and earth. After Nine Saint Great Demon's death, the fallen angel tribe members wanted to open the immortal abode where Nine Saint Great Demon had cultivated, but without the token, they couldn't open the immortal abode. Later on, Nine Saint Great Demon's immortal abode flew away. This matter had always been a pain in the hearts of the fallen angel tribe members. But now, they had obtained the token to open Nine Saint Great Demon's immortal abode. With this token, they might be able to sense the location of Nine Saint Great Demon's immortal abode. If they could find the location of Nine Saint Great Demon's immortal abode, they could open it and take out some of Nine Saint Great Demon's immortal abode's legacy. The many treasures he had left behind would definitely increase the strength of the fallen angel tribe. Many thanks, Fairy. Nalen Xiong and the others hurriedly thanked Han Xin. Chapter 40:35. When Lin Feng saw Immeasurable Taoist's expression, he knew that Immeasurable Taoist had his eyes on the jade talisman. This fellow had always been like this, incomparably greedy. Whenever he encountered something good, he would think of a way to obtain it. Lin Feng could not help but mutter, if Immeasurable Taoist really dared to make a move, who knew what kind of trouble would occur? Lin Feng naturally did not want to fall out with the fallen angels. The main reason was because Lin Feng had already had that kind of intimate relationship with Nalen Monley. Thus, he naturally did not wish for it to happen. Immeasurable Taoist stirred up a storm on the side of the fallen angels. Restrain yourself a little, Lin Feng said. Immeasurable Taoist rolled his eyes and said, Fine, looking at you, brat. I can tell that you have hooked up with some girl from the fallen angels. Is that why you are siding with the fallen angels? Could it be that girl with a very good figure? That girl is indeed very alluring. However, it is a pity that she is stuck in a pile of cow dung like you. Lin Feng really wanted to slap Immeasurable Taoist. How could this fellow speak like that? Why were the words that came out of his mouth so unpleasant? Bring me to see the first half of the Dark Bible. Han Xin said. Yes, Senior. Senior, please follow me. Nalen Xiong said. He personally led the way. As for Nalen Monley, she arranged for people to bring Lin Feng and the others to rest. Before leaving, Nalen Monley transmitted, Wait for me tonight. I have something to discuss with you. Before leaving, she even winked at Lin Feng. She looked at Lin Feng with a flirtatious gaze. How charming! Men and women were different. Men, before getting it, they could put in 10 times, 100 times the effort, and work hard without complaint. Women, on the other hand, were more reserved. However, when the two were together, women would become as passionate as fire. Men's passion would greatly diminish. As expected, this Taoist's guess was correct. Sure enough, you've hooked up with that girl. Taoist Wu Liang grinned at Lin Feng. This fellow's methods were truly extraordinary. He had actually sensed Nalen Monley's voice transmission to Lin Feng. Lin Feng replied indifferently, It's also a mistake to have too much charm. Take yours truly, for example. Wherever I go, I'm loved by everyone and flowers bloom. Taoist Wu Liang curled his lips and wanted to retort. However, Taoist Wu Liang realized that what Lin Feng said was true. Lin Feng seemed to be popular wherever he went. Lin Feng did not know what happened after Han Xian saw the first half of the Dark Bible. He planned to leave this place after Han Xian left and head to the city of 10,000 saints. The next day, Han Xian found Lin Feng. "I'm leaving," Han Xian said. "Good. Take care," Lin Feng said. Han Xian nodded and then reminded him, "You have to be careful too." Now, it's not like back then, especially with the arrival of the Age of Chaos. Those terrifying existences at the end of the era will awaken one by one. Those existences. We have to be on guard. Hearing this, Lin Feng nodded. He had no choice but to take what Han Xian said seriously because it was a matter of great importance. If he was careless, he would die. Lin Feng did not want to die in the hands of those terrifying fellows. He still had a lot of things to do. Han Xian finally left. After Han Xian left, Lin Feng and the other two also left. When they left, they still did not see Nayland Manqing, which made Lin Feng feel a little regretful. He did not know why Nayland Manqing did not appear. He had never heard of Nayland Manqing cultivating in seclusion. A woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Lin Feng and the other two quickly flew in the direction of the City of Saints. During this period of time, a large number of cultivators from the myriad races were rushing towards the City of Saints. Not only the cultivators of the myriad races, even the creatures of the endless ghost sand were rushing towards the City of Saints. The female master of the endless ghost sand was extremely powerful. Lin Feng felt that this female master would probably leave the Heavenly Sage Great World soon. The Heavenly Sage Great World was still a little too small for her. The main reason why she had not left yet was because the female master had just escaped not long ago, so she needed to continue recovering her cultivation. Lin Feng and the other two arrived at the City of Saints. It was incomparably lively. People came and went, and there were cultivators of all races. Countless cultivators were still discussing the matter of the female master shaking the ancient weapon. Lin Feng was not sure if the female master was called Moon God. After all, the name could be fake. Thinking of the things that happened between him and the Moon God, it was really hard to imagine that the Moon God was actually the female master. After arriving at the City of Saints, Lin Feng and the other two decided to find a place to stay. Along the way, Lin Feng saw a group of living beings in the endless ghost sand. Lin Feng even saw Huangfu Qingtian in the group. Huangfu Qingtian was now mingling with the people of the endless ghost sand. It had to be said that this guy was really a disaster. Suddenly Lin Feng's eyes narrowed. He saw that the group of cultivators from the endless ghost sand had met up with another group of people. That group of people seemed to be cultivators from the lost races of the epic, but Lin Feng did not know which race they were from. Lin Feng saw a somewhat familiar figure in the group of cultivators. It was her, a person that Lin Feng did not expect at all. Su Yueshi. It was this woman. Back then, the Su family was destroyed. Su Yueshi should have been executed. However, Lin Feng was still young after all, so he was soft-hearted. In the end, he let Su Yueshi go. He left Su Yueshi to fend for herself. Since then, Su Yueshi seemed to have evaporated from the world. At that time, Su Yueshi was not strong, and the outside world was so dangerous, especially when the Tianwu continent suffered a calamity and countless people died. Lin Feng thought that Su Yueshi had also died in the calamity. Who would have thought that he would see Su Yueshi here? Although many years had passed, Su Yueshi's appearance had changed a lot, but Lin Feng still recognized Su Yueshi at a glance. Su Yueshi is still alive, and she's mingling with the lost races of the epic. What has she been through all these years? Lin Feng was puzzled. After the lost races of the epic and the people of the endless ghost sand met up, they walked into the ancient city together. Chapter 40:36. Although Taoist Wu Liang and Lin Feng had known each other since Lin Feng's youth, Taoist Wu Liang knew that Taoist Wu Liang was the same person. However, it was clear that Taoist Wu Liang did not know Su Yueshi. The cursed doll said, "Little Lin Feng must have taken a liking to that girl. Shouldn't it be more like enmity between enemies?" Lin Feng said, "That's not entirely correct. Although we're enemies, it's been a long time. But after so many years, it's hard for her to attract my attention anymore." "Who's that girl?" Taoist Wu Liang asked. Lin Feng told Taoist Wu Liang and the cursed doll about some of the things that had happened during his youth. The two sighed. They had never thought that Lin Feng would have experienced such a bumpy life when he was young. "That girl's luck is really good. However, I feel that this woman's fate has changed. Once we find a place to stay, I'll make some deductions," Taoist Wu Liang said. When Lin Feng heard him, he nodded. Taoist Wu Liang's methods were extraordinary. He wanted to see what kind of special things Taoist Wu Liang could deduce. The three of them continued walking toward the ancient city. Due to the large number of cultivators entering Myriad Saints City, some of the more high-end inns here were overcrowded. Fortunately, Myriad Saints City was large enough. Lin Feng and the others finally found an inn to rest in. They rented a courtyard, and Taoist Wu Liang took out some tortoiseshell-like items. The divination technique of the innate 8 trigrams liked to use tortoiseshells as a foundation to make all kinds of deductions. Lin Feng's innate 8 trigrams technique was based on the 9 palaces divination technique and did not rely on tortoiseshells. Lin Feng found it rather novel that Taoist Wu Liang was deducing Su Yueshi's fate. The innate 8 trigrams had never recorded such a method, so he had no idea where Taoist Wu Liang had learned it from. After a series of deductions, Taoist Wu Liang began looking at the tortoiseshells. "How is it?" Lin Feng asked. "The 7 stars shift, pointing at the heavens. That girl has become a malefic star." Taoist Wu Liang frowned. "Malefic?" Lin Feng could not help but frown. This was troublesome. As someone who cultivated the innate 8 trigrams, Lin Feng knew what the term malefic star meant. "Looks like that girl will become Lin Feng's next." Wu Liang nodded. "Yes," nodded Taoist Wu Liang. Said Lin Feng, "Don't worry, I want to rise. I have to must step. Back then, when I was young, I was soft-hearted. Spare her mercy. If she doesn't know how. If she woo, a Feng's was," said Lin Feng aggressively. Lin Feng had gone through so many things, and his personality had changed a lot. He was a decisive person who would not show mercy. At Shan's back, Lin Feng took out his good fortune gourd. To Wu to Liang to him, a Liang Ming Wu, he was that. Among the 2 sovereign lords, the middle-aged man was called Lu Changlin. Now that he only had 1 arm left, his cultivation was affected to a certain extent. Of course, his cultivation was high, and he was still very strong. He was from the demonic, immortal clan, one of the royal clans of the myriad races. Demonic Immortal Clan was one of the more mysterious clans. Even the outside world did not know much about them. The girl was called Murong Yenyu. She was a peerless beauty with peerless talent. Her beauty was enough to make one's heart beat faster. This woman came from the famous Immortal God Clan. The Immortal God Clan was one of the 10 royal clans of the myriad races, and also one of the 3 great god clans. Their influence was huge, their foundation was strong, and their experts were everywhere. Lin Feng had met the saintess of the immortal god clan, Xian Lengen. Lin Feng began to use the great purification art to purify the two. Previously, the two of them had been trapped in the Gourd of Fortune. Meanwhile, the Gourd of Fortune was constantly draining their magic power. Now that their dermic powers were almost depleted, it was time for Lin Feng to purify them. Powerful purification power flowed into the gourd. The gourd began to purify the two. However, they still had the ability to resist. They kept struggling. "Brat, do you know the power behind us? How dare you try to purify us? You'd better stop now. Otherwise, no one in this world can save you." The two emperors roared in anger. They did not want to be purified. Begging was useless, so they could only threaten Lin Feng. They hoped to use the power behind them to intimidate Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng did not care about their threats. He said indifferently, "What do I have to fear from a mere myriad imperial clan?" After hearing Lin Feng's words, the two emperors' expressions turned ugly. Lin Feng was a fearless person. He was not afraid of offending the myriad imperial clan. 2 hours later, the middle-aged cultivator, Lu Chonglin, was the first to succumb to Lin Feng's purification. "Master, thank you for guiding me to the right path." Lu Chonglin put his palms together and said sincerely. He was now loyal to Lin Feng. If Lin Feng asked him to die, he would die without hesitation. "Ha ha ha! Great! Follow me and cultivate well. You'll definitely be able to break through your shackles. Become a true immortal." Lin Feng burst into laughter and started chatting. Then he continued to purify Murong Yenyu. An hour later, Murong Yenyu was also purified by Lin Feng. "Master, thank you for letting me let go of my past obsession and sins. From now on, I'm willing to serve Master. I'll listen to Master's teachings." Murong Yenyu also said. Lin Feng released the two of them from the gourd. He smiled and said, "I know your loyalty. Now go and rest." "Yes, Master." Then the two of them went to rest. Lin Feng began to purify the terrifying existence's head. "Kid, your cultivation of the great purification technique is quite profound. However, it's impossible for you to purify me. Your appearance will definitely be noticed by the lords of that world. You can't imagine how powerful the lords of that world are. If you're smart, what you should do now is to submit." The head said in a sinister voice, "A prisoner dares to say such words to me? Don't you think it's funny?" Lin Feng said with a cold smile. The head said, "The submission I'm talking about is to submit to the great master. How about this? I can bring you to that world and introduce you to the lords of that world. Do you want to live forever? Do you want to become an expert who can rule the universe? As long as you cooperate obediently, you will become such an expert when the time comes." Chapter 4037. Brat, you sure know how to boast. However, if you know how powerful the lords of that world are, you probably won't boast anymore. The head said, "Hee, I don't want to know how powerful they are. Right now, I only want to edify you and find out the secrets I want to know from your mind." Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He increased the strength of his edification. An even more majestic purifying power was formed and continuously surged into the head. Ah! The head roared and howled. It was unable to struggle and could only try its best to resist the edification power. "The people of my world are all high and mighty existences. Only we can enslave others. No one can enslave us." His face was contorted as he continued to roar. Lin Feng said indifferently, "Is that so? I can enslave you then. You are destined to be my slave. Don't even think about it." The head's voice was ice cold. Then his head started to burn fiercely. This guy, he would rather die. He would rather be edified by Lin Feng. Lin Feng frowned. He planned to use a soul-searching technique to search the head's soul. Since the head's self-destruction could not be dispelled, Lin Feng had to find out what he wanted to know before the head self-destructed. Lin Feng did not hesitate. He quickly used a soul-searching technique to search the head's soul. "You want to search my soul? You won't be able to succeed." The head continued to roar, and the burning speed of his head became even faster. Lin Feng sneered. "That's not up to you." Lin Feng's soul-searching technique managed to find some memories. He saw the experts of that world. They were standing amidst boundless holy light, looking down at the heavens. In the head's memories, those existences were as high and mighty as gods. In the head's memories, there was only endless respect for those existences. "Greetings, Master." However, the powerful existences amidst the holy light all knelt down and kowtowed to a mysterious existence. When Lin Feng wanted to see who that mysterious existence was, the head suddenly let out a miserable cry. Bang! Next, a loud sound rang out. The head had actually exploded. Brain matter splattered everywhere. "What a pity!" Lin Feng frowned. He had thought that he would be able to see that ancient existence, but he did not. The existence that the experts of that world called Master. That should be the mastermind, right? However, he did not know what kind of existence that existence was. Was he the incarnation of the great Tao laws? Or was he a cultivator of flesh and blood? He had no idea. The only thing he knew was that terrifying existence. It was so terrifying that it was unimaginable. When the head exploded, an emotionless voice came from one of the palaces in the mysterious world that hovered above the 9 heavens. "Someone is spying on me. Who dares to spy on me?" Not long after he finished speaking, his voice rang out once more. "A descendant of the sovereign emperor's clan." Ha 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 ha! Someone from that clan actually survived. Interesting. Very interesting. This terrifying existence actually laughed out loud. Lin Feng took a deep breath, stood up, and walked to the window. Now that the apocalypse had arrived, all sorts of monsters had appeared. Even the mastermind was about to show himself. What a chaotic world. Lin Feng looked at the moon and clenched his fists. His current cultivation base was still not strong enough. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. He saw a female cultivator standing in the courtyard outside. She was dressed in white, and she was as beautiful as a peerless fairy. Moonlight sprinkled down, and she was surrounded by boundless moonlight. She was like a fairy who had descended from the moon palace. Moon God! Lin Feng's expression changed when he saw her. She was none other than Moon God. She was so terrifying that even the heavens and earth paled in comparison. Moon God had just broken free, and her strength was at an all-time low. Even so, she could still fight against ancient weapons. No one knew how strong Moon God had been at her peak. She had been suppressed by her ancestor, the Lord of Gods. Her strength was probably close to the Lord of Gods. Lin Feng's hair stood on end when Moon God showed up. Lin Feng walked out. He knew he had to face Moon God. Moon God might not attack him, but if she did, she would have already done so. She had also said that she wouldn't attack anyone from the sovereign emperor's clan. "Why have you come here?" Lin Feng asked. "I'm not an abandoned woman." Moon God said. When Lin Feng heard the Moon God, he almost fell to the ground. Lin Feng had said that the Moon God was a woman who had been abandoned by the leader of the gods. Moon God had been furious, and Lin Feng had thought he had guessed correctly. Who would have thought that Moon God would take the initiative to explain herself? Was there a need for that? Perhaps she was a perfectionist, so she didn't want others to misunderstand her. The Lord of Gods. He's my senior brother. Moon God said. "What? My ancestor was your senior apprentice brother?" Lin Feng's mouth twitched violently. He had thought of countless possibilities, but he hadn't thought of this one. The Lord of Gods was Moon God's senior brother. This sounded really inconceivable. However, Moon God had said it herself. Lin Feng naturally didn't believe that an expert like Moon God would joke with him. Yes, he's my senior brother. He's just my senior brother. He doesn't have any romantic feelings. He has his own lover. Moon God said. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. My ancestor is your senior brother. You actually ordered your subordinates to kill me? At that moment, Lin Feng had no idea what to say. Moon God said coldly, so what if he's my senior brother? We've already turned against each other. He suppressed me for so long. So what if I kill a descendant of his to vent my anger? Lin Feng. Moon God continued. Moreover, I didn't do it myself. If I had done it myself, do you think you would have been able to escape? I ordered my subordinates to kill you, giving you a chance to escape. If you can grasp it, you won't die. Moon God, don't drag me into this matter between you and my ancestor. Lin Feng said helplessly. Chapter 40:38. Lin Feng had already experienced the Moon Goddess's tigress personality before. A single word of disagreement, she would immediately explode. The saying, lioness from Hedong, was probably referring to a woman like the Moon Goddess. Anyone who married a girl like her would be unlucky. Who asked the Moon Goddess to be so powerful? If he was really bullied by her, he could only endure it. If he dared to say something he shouldn't have, he would have to endure it. If that happened, it would be even worse. Lin Feng crawled up from the ground, a bitter smile on his face. The Moon Goddess was so powerful. She was truly a woman who struck fear into the hearts of others. An extremely evil thought suddenly appeared in Lin Feng's mind. I'm no match for you now, so I'll endure it. Just wait until my cultivation improves and see how I'll deal with you. I'll make you kneel on the ground and sing conquer every day. Your gaze. The Moon Goddess frowned. The Moon Goddess frowned. She had the impression that Lin Feng was looking at her in an evil way. She looked even colder. Damn, what sharp intuition. Lin Feng said, that's my gaze of worship for you, Moon Goddess. He really spoke the human language, and the ghost spoke the ghost language. Moreover, he didn't even blush. The Moon Goddess snorted coldly, not bothering with Lin Feng on this topic. The Moon Goddess said, soon. I'll be leaving Heavenly Sage Great World soon. At that time, my subordinate, he'll still do everything in his power to kill you. You're on your own now. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Moon Goddess, there's no need to toy with me like this, right? The Moon Goddess said indifferently, if I hadn't promised the Lord of Gods that I wouldn't make a move against your bloodline, you'd already be dead. You're already a dead man. I have to avenge the Master of Gods for suppressing me. If you're dead, the enmity between us will end here. Lin Feng sighed. Since the Moon Goddess had already said so much, there was no point in saying anything else. Lin Feng asked, I'm very curious. Why did my ancestors suppress you back then? Your fellow disciples. There are many rumors in the outside world. I wonder if some of them aren't true. How can the people of the world know what happened back then? The Moon God said coldly. She then waved her right hand, and an item flew out. It fell into Lin Feng's hands. Lin Feng discovered that it was actually a wooden sword. What is this? Lin Feng asked doubtfully. The wooden sword was surrounded by divine power, immortal for billions of years. Its aura was too ancient, and there were only a few simple runes on it. Who was the one who did this? This is something that belonged to the Master of Gods. Now, I return it to your race. Moon God said, a treasure left behind by my ancestor. Heavens, this treasure must be very powerful, right? Lin Feng became excited. He really wanted to give the moon goddess a big hug. Then he gave the moon goddess 3 kisses. The moon goddess did not comment on the wooden sword. Instead, she said, "Take care of yourself." After she spoke, the moon god's body dissipated, and she left this place. Lin Feng felt somewhat emotional. What kind of feelings did the moon goddess have for his race? Why the master of gods had suppressed the moon god in the past was destined to be a mystery, and judging from the moon god's expression, the rumors outside could not be trusted at all. Lin Feng returned to his room and used his divine sense to refine the wooden sword. Next, Lin Feng saw a flash of light before his eyes, and he entered the world formed by the wooden sword. This was a spiritual mountain that stretched endlessly. In the spiritual mountain, a 13 or 14-year-old youth was polishing a wooden sword. Not long after, a 6 or 7-year-old girl ran over. She looked like she was carved from jade. "Senior brother, what are you doing?" the little girl asked. The youth said, "I'm forging a wooden sword." "Why are you forging a wooden sword?" the little girl continued asking. "For you to use, of course. You can't control the power in your body. Iron swords can easily injure people, so it's best to use a wooden sword," the youth said. The little girl was vexed. Like a little adult, she sighed and said, I don't know when I'll be able to control the power in my body." There was a terrifying innate power in the little girl's body that was difficult to control. Although she was young, when she cultivated, there were many times when she could not control that power, and she had injured others. Lin Feng suddenly thought of little Tian Tian. The power in her body was unimaginably terrifying. He wondered if this little girl's situation was similar to little Tian Tian's. "You can definitely control the power in your body. Senior brother believes in you," the youth said with a smile, then reached out and patted the little girl's head. And then all the images disappeared. Lin Feng returned to the real world. "So this is the origin of this sword," Yi Fuqian murmured. Lin Feng was surprised, then smiled bitterly. He had thought that this was an extremely terrifying wooden sword, but now it seemed that it was not. In truth, this wooden sword had a very special meaning to the moon goddess. It was given to her by her senior brother when she was young, and now she was returning it to his descendant. Did this mean that she wanted to completely sever all ties with him? Lin Feng carefully looked at the several runes on the sword. He discovered that they were extraordinary. Although there were not many runes, because of these special runes, the wooden sword still seemed extraordinary. The wooden sword contained powerful ripples of energy. It was also because of these special runes. Are these the runes that the moon goddess added to it? If not for these runes, the wooden sword might have been destroyed long ago. Lin Feng could not help but mutter to himself. Then he began to ponder. The moon goddess had even protected the wooden sword that the master of gods had given her like a precious treasure. This was enough to prove that the moon goddess had valued her relationship with the master of gods. However, why had his ancestor, the master of gods, suppressed the moon goddess? Something big must have happened back then. Otherwise, his ancestor would not have done so. Moreover, his ancestor had only suppressed the moon goddess, not killed her. If his ancestor had wanted to kill the moon goddess, he should have been able to do so, right? No matter how heaven-defying the moon goddess was, she would not have been able to escape death. Lin Feng put the wooden sword away. That wooden sword was definitely extraordinary. Maybe in the future, Lin Feng would be able to find out more about it. The next day, someone came to give Lin Feng a visitation card, saying that an old friend had invited him to the Myriad Saints building. Lin Feng was surprised. He did not know who this old friend was. Lin Feng, Taoist Wuliang, and the cursed doll headed to the Myriad Saints building. Lu Changlin and Murong Yenyu stayed at their residence. After arriving at the Myriad Saints building, Lin Feng met the person who had invited him. This person, Chapter 4039. There were many times when Lin Feng wanted to tell himself that he had forgotten about Su Yueshi. But how could that be possible? Everyone only had one youth. Once their youth was gone, they would not be able to experience a second youth. When Lin Feng was young, there was always one person by his side. This person was Su Yueshi. If he forgot about Su Yueshi, perhaps he would have forgotten his youth. Of course, Lin Feng was very cold to Su Yueshi now. This woman was very despicable. If this woman had died back then, it would have been fine. However, now that she had appeared again, Lin Feng wanted to kill Su Yueshi. This was especially true now that Su Yueshi had joined forces with the epic Lost Clan and the living beings from the endless Ghost Sand. This made Lin Feng want to kill her even more. In addition to Su Yueshi, there were more than 10 cultivators in the room. There were people from the epic Lost Clan and the endless Ghost Sand. Lin Feng's archenemy, Huangfu Qingtian, was also here. Su Yueshi smiled when she saw Lin Feng's group of 3. Lin Feng, we haven't seen each other for many years. I didn't expect this. The current you've become so powerful. Lin Feng glanced at Su Yueshi and smiled. You've turned over a new leaf. You're no longer the pitiful worm from before. Su Yueshi's eyes turned cold after hearing Lin Feng's mockery. However, they quickly returned to normal, and she said, "Everyone has their own fortuitous encounter. Since you have your own fortuitous encounter, of course, I have mine too." "Is that so?" Lin Feng chuckled and found a place to sit down. Immeasurable Taoist, and the cursed doll sat next to Lin Feng. "Let me introduce you. This is the son of the 9 spirits Tao clan's patriarch, the Tao martial ancestor." Su Yueshi pointed at a cultivator beside her. This cultivator was a cultivator from the epic lost race. His aura was extremely powerful. Clearly, he was an extremely terrifying existence. "Lin Feng, I've heard of your name. Now that the world is changing and the end of the world is coming soon, countless creatures will be plunged into misery and suffering. Your talent is very outstanding, but if you want to survive the destruction of the world, it will be as difficult as ascending to heaven. I heard Su Yueshi talking about you before. How about this? I'll give you a chance. Swear allegiance to me right now. In the future, I will naturally protect you." The cultivator called Dao Wuzong looked at Lin Feng condescendingly. The cultivators from the lost epic clan all had haughty expressions, and this person from the Tao martial sect was naturally the same. This person was extremely terrifying. His aura was deep and powerful, and his attitude was extremely arrogant. Listen to his tone. Except Lin Feng. It was as if he was giving alms. What a joke. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. What did you say?" The Tao martial sect frowned slightly. Then he looked at Lin Feng. There was a look of displeasure on his face. "You don't even know your surname now that you have some strength. The strength that you're so proud of is not even worth mentioning in my eyes." Lin Feng mocked. The Tao martial sect's expression suddenly sank, and he said coldly, "Impudent! If it wasn't for Su Yueshi who recommended you to me, do you think I would even look at you? Do you have the right to do so?" One had to admit that this fellow was too arrogant. These cultivators from the lost epic clan thought they were superior and looked down on cultivators from other races. Therefore, the Tao martial sect looked down on Lin Feng from the bottom of his heart. The people from the lost epic clan had always thought that they had the most powerful bloodline, and the other races were inferior bloodlines. This was even more so for the Tao martial sect. At this moment, Su Yueshi said, "Lin Feng, perhaps you've misunderstood my good intentions. That's why you're unwilling to submit to the Tao martial sect, right? You don't have to misunderstand me at all." The Tsuyoshi of the past is already dead, and those grudges of the past don't count as grudges at all. That's why I'm sincerely helping you. There's only one chance. If you don't seize it, I'm afraid you won't have another chance like this in the future. Of course, I know you're a prideful person, so you don't want to become someone else's slave. However, now that the apocalypse has arrived, surviving is the most important thing. Although your current cultivation base is extraordinary, do you think you can survive the apocalypse with your current cultivation base? Do you know how cruel the apocalypse is? Even an immortal would find it difficult to survive. Therefore, I'm giving you a chance now. You have to seize it. Kneel before the Tao martial sect and kowtow to acknowledge me as your master. Lin Feng looked at Tsuyoshi indifferently and said, "Does that mean you've already acknowledged him as your master?" "Me?" Tsuyoshi smiled and said, "Do you know who I was in my previous life?" Lin Feng raised his brows slightly. As he had guessed, Tsuyoshi should be someone else's reincarnation. Otherwise, with her talent, it would be impossible for her to rise to prominence. Only someone else's reincarnation could rise to prominence. Now, Tsuyoshi had admitted to this. "Whose reincarnation are you?" Lin Feng asked. "The Empyrean fairy." A proud expression appeared on Tsuyoshi's face. Lin Feng was shocked when he heard this. The Empyrean fairy was among the first batch of awakened, innate life forms. In the painting Lin Feng had obtained before, there were 6 people in it. They were Goddess Nuwa, the Fushi clan, the Swearen clan, the Empyrean fairy, Pangu. There was also a mysterious cultivator who grinned and made a peace sign with his hands. Lin Feng had guessed that the cultivator who made the peace sign was an ancestor of the sovereign clan, but he couldn't be sure. The fact that the mysterious fairy of the 9 heavens was able to appear in the same scroll as these big shots showed how powerful she was. Lin Feng still remembered what he had learned from a mysterious expert. The Empyrean fairy's life had 3 stages. In the first stage, the Empyrean fairy was pure and kind. At this moment, she was deeply in love with the ancestor of the sovereign clan. However, the falling flowers had feelings, but the flowing water had no intention of falling. This was a relationship that ended without a cause. In the second stage, the world shook. The Empyrean fairy's ambition grew, and she established her own immortal kingdom. In this stage, the Empyrean fairy became a person who would do anything to achieve her goals. In the third stage, the Empyrean fairy's kingdom grew stronger and stronger. The Empyrean maiden herself had also become an all-heavens supreme. In this stage, the Empyrean fairy recalled the past. In the past, she had fallen in love with the ancestor of the sovereign clan, but the ancestor had no feelings for her and rejected her. The Empyrean fairy's love turned to hatred, and she hated the sovereign clan to the core. Later, the Empyrean fairy suffered a calamity and had her corpse dissected. Rumor had it that she had split into 9 parts. Chapter 4040. Tsuyoshi said proudly, "I've awakened the memories of my past life, and I'm no longer the same as before. Now, I'm the incarnation of the fairy of the 9 heavens, and I'm in a cooperative relationship with the 9 spirits Tao clan. This relationship isn't something you can understand. Only someone like me is qualified to cooperate with a powerful clan like the 9 spirits Tao clan." Tsuyoshi said aloud. There was a hint of arrogance in her voice. This kind of arrogance seemed to flow out from his bones. Tsuyoshi was now looking at Lin Feng with the eyes of a superior. Perhaps in her eyes, Lin Feng was just a lowly existence. Lin Feng said sarcastically, "Tsuyoshi, do you think you're so great just because you're the incarnation of the fairy of the 9 heavens? Do you know that the fairy of the 9 heavens can only carry the shoes of the sovereign emperor clan? Back then, the fairy of the 9 heavens, shamelessly wanted to become my ancestor's woman, but she was rejected. You know why? Because the fairy of the 9 heavens wasn't qualified at all. At most, she could only become my ancestor's servant. Moreover, you're just a reincarnation of the fairy of the 9 heavens. You're not the real fairy of the 9 heavens. Furthermore, the 9 heavens maiden has 9 reincarnations. Your avatar's aptitude is extremely poor, even if it has awakened the 9 heavens maiden's memories. Even though you've awakened the memories of the fairy of the 9 heavens, your talent has only increased from a trash level to an ordinary level. Therefore, I think you should put away your pride because your talent is really not worth mentioning. Lin Feng shook his head and looked at Su Yueshi with disdain. Lin Feng, what did you say? Su Yueshi originally wanted to show off in front of Lin Feng, but now that Lin Feng had mocked her, how could she endure such humiliation? She looked at Lin Feng with a gaze that could devour Lin Feng. Lin Feng said indifferently, I'm just speaking the truth. As the saying goes, honest words are unpleasant to the ear, and nice words will only harm you. Often, only unpleasant words can help you recognize yourself. Ha 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 ha, Taoist Wu Yang and the cursed doll immediately laughed because Lin Feng was too good at mocking others. Su Yueshi had invited Lin Feng over to tell Lin Feng that she was no longer the person she used to be. She was now a phoenix that had risen to the top. Therefore, Su Yueshi had a high and mighty attitude. However, the current situation was, in front of Lin Feng's arrogance. It didn't affect Lin Feng at all. In the end, she was humiliated by Lin. This boy, he really doesn't know what's good for himself. The Dao Wuzong said with narrowed eyes. After hearing the Dao Wuzong's words, Su Yueshi, who was trembling with anger, looked better. The Dao Wuzong continued, such a person is not qualified to be my slave. You don't have to plead for this boy anymore, because he's not worth it. Lin Feng drank a cup of wine and said, some people think too highly of themselves. They think they're superior, but in the end, they're just a joke. Boy, are you mocking me? The Dao Wuzong's eyes turned cold. Sir, are you qualified to be mocked by me? Lin Feng replied indifferently. Lin Feng's words caused an uproar. An expert like the Dao Wuzong had an unfathomable cultivation base, in addition to his identity as an epic lost tribe, who would dare to offend an expert like the Dao Wuzong. However, Lin Feng said, an expert like the Dao Wuzong did not even have the qualifications to be mocked by him. That was too arrogant. Many people were shocked and could not believe their ears. However, Lin Feng said that in front of everyone, the Dao Wuzong's subordinates were filled with righteous indignation. Lin Feng's mocking of the Dao Wuzong was no different from humiliating them. As for the people from the endless ghost sand, they looked like they had nothing to do with it and were watching the show. I thought this gathering would be quite interesting. What a disappointment. I didn't see anything. I only saw a bunch of self-righteous and arrogant fellows. Wu Liang Taoist said, as he smacked his lips, this damn Taoist had never been afraid of things getting out of hand. His words were like adding oil to the fire. The cursed doll said, there's a saying that goes, viewing the sky from the bottom of a well. I've learned something today. Lin Feng said, I think there's no need to stay in this gathering anymore. Let's leave. It's beneath our dignity to stay here. Many people could not help but roll their eyes after hearing Lin Feng's words. Lin Feng's words were full of mockery and sarcasm. This caused many people's expressions to become gloomy. Brat, I'd like to see what right you have to say such arrogant words. If you don't have the ability, I'll break your bones today. A cultivator from the epic lost clan stood up and blocked Lin Feng's path. He walked toward Lin Feng step by step. His body emitted a terrifying aura that pressed down on Lin Feng. The cultivator from the lost clan of the era wanted to attack Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng's left eye flashed with a demonic light. Lin Feng's left eye was not simple. It was the legendary eye of death. It had the power to take the life of others. Lin Feng's left eye surged with the terrifying power of death and enveloped the cultivator. That cultivator from the epic lost race had been extremely arrogant just a second ago. However, in the next second, his body began to age rapidly. "My body," Yi Fuqian murmured. The cultivator from the lost race of the epic cried out in horror. In a dozen breaths, he died of old age, leaving behind only skin and bones. His corpse fell to the ground. "Brat, what kind of evil art did you use?" The Tao martial ancestor's expression darkened. His eyes flashed with murderous intent. He stood up, causing the space around him to distort. The Tao martial ancestor was the most talented cultivator. In the past, when he was still at a low level, he was already able to kill enemies who were a whole realm higher. Now, he had cultivated for 320,000 years and had broken through to the Imperial Lord realm. Although he was only at the first level of the Imperial Lord realm, the Tao martial ancestor was a supreme genius when he was young. Therefore, his battle prowess far exceeded his cultivation level. When Lin Feng sensed the terrifying aura from the Tao martial ancestor, he slightly raised his brows. The Tao martial ancestor was indeed an expert from the epic lost clan. His aura was too terrifying. Even some of the high-level emperors were no match for this person from the Tao martial sect. Chapter 4041. Lin Feng said nonchalantly, "So what if I killed him? He's just an ant. It's as easy as crushing him. If I really want to make a move, not to mention this person just now, even if all of you come together, only death will await you." Many people's mouths twitched violently because Lin Feng's words were too arrogant. Everyone had seen arrogant people before, but they had never seen someone as arrogant as Lin Feng. Many people could not help but feel endless anger in their hearts. They could not wait to teach Lin Feng a lesson. "Why? You're not convinced? If you're not, come at me together. I'll crush all of you." Lin Feng looked arrogant and domineering. Many people gritted their teeth and wanted to attack Lin Feng. At this moment, the person from the Tao martial sect calmed down. He waved his hand and gestured for everyone to calm down. The Tao martial sect said, "In my life, I've seen many geniuses. Many of them were even more talented than you. However, there's never been anyone as arrogant as you." The saying that too much steel makes it easy to break is an ancient saying that has been passed down since ancient times. This saying is very reasonable. Lin Feng replied nonchalantly, "You don't know what you're capable of. This is also an ancient saying that has been passed down since ancient times. It's suitable for all of you to savor it. Brat, what do you think you are? How dare you say such things so shamelessly?" Many people roared angrily. Lin Feng's words deeply provoked the cultivators, and they could not take it anymore. Some of them could not wait to attack. However, they did not do so because they were concerned about the Tao martial sect's reputation. Even so, they still endured their monstrous anger. As long as the Tao martial sect did not stop them, they would immediately attack Lin Feng. Lin Feng said nonchalantly, "I'm talking to all of you because I think highly of all of you. With your lowly status, you don't have the right to talk to me." Everyone had fully witnessed Lin Feng's arrogance and egotism. Everyone was angered half to death by Lin Feng. As for the cultivators from the endless ghost sand, they were still watching the show. From the beginning to the end, they didn't participate in the entire matter, although the people from endless ghost sand also wanted to kill off Lin Feng. Since someone else wanted Lin Feng's life, there was no need for them to take action. Wouldn't it be better to just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight? It had to be said that the cultivators from the Endless Ghost Sands were pretty good at scheming. Everyone from the Epic Lost clan looked at the Dao martial sect. Everyone was looking forward to the Dao martial sect ordering them to kill this despicable fellow. However, to their disappointment, the Dao martial sect had never issued such an order. The Dao martial ancestor looked at Lin Feng and said, "I'm not willing to argue with you. This was not the place to make a move. Therefore, I will spare your life today. But you should pray that you don't see me again. If you see me again, I'll tell you. At that time, I'll let you know what it means to have a death wish." The Dao martial sect looked at Lin Feng with a condescending gaze. Lin Feng was really curious. Where did this fellow get his confidence from? "I'll wait for you," Lin Feng sneered and left with the immeasurable Daoist and the cursed doll. Now that Lin Feng's cultivation base was high, he was naturally not afraid of these people, unless it was a cultivator close to the immortal realm or the immortal realm who made a move. Only then would Lin Feng be wary. For a period of time, there were still cultivators arriving. It was said that the three alliances of the myriad tribes and the people from the Endless Ghost Sand were discussing a ceasefire agreement. There were many conflicts of interest involved, so the meeting would probably not end in a short period of time. Lin Feng, the immeasurable Daoist, and the cursed doll went to the depths of the city to observe the myriad tribes' temple. The myriad tribes' sacred palace floated in the void in the depths of Myriad Saints City. Myriad Saints City was shrouded in boundless saint light. Every day, there would be people coming here to pay their respects. Naturally, there would be many cultivators hoping to enter Myriad Saints City. Now, a large number of cultivators, especially those below 30,000 years old, had come to compete for the 100 spots to cultivate in the Myriad Saints City. One could only imagine how fierce the competition would be at that time. Especially in recent years, many cultivators who had sealed themselves in the divine stones had come out. One had to know that within the divine stones, time had stopped flowing. Under the situation where time had stopped flowing, the lifespan of those within the divine stones would not increase. When they sealed themselves in the divine stones, their lifespan was less than 30,000 years old. If they were still less than 30,000 years old when they came out, they would still have a chance to compete. It was rumored that there were even some who were at the level of immortal descendants. Their ancestors were true immortals. Within 3 generations, their bloodline was extremely powerful. Now, they had come out of the divine stones. These existences were extremely talented and had heaven-defying cultivation bases. Once they participated in the war, they would definitely achieve great results. The 3 alliances of the myriad races negotiated with the living beings of the Endless Ghost Sand for about half a month. Finally, both sides reached an agreement. Outsiders did not know the details of the agreement, but it was clear that the 3 alliances would vomit blood this time. Lin Feng did not care much about this matter. He was now focused on cultivating in the myriad tribe's temple. That night, the master of the Endless Ghost Sand came to Lin Feng again. "What about the wooden sword?" asked the moon goddess. Lin Feng took out the wooden sword. "What? Do you want it back? You want to take back something you've given away?" The moon goddess frowned slightly. She said coldly, "Who said I want it back? Can I take one more look at the wooden sword before I leave? If the wooden sword is so important, why did you give it to me?" asked Lin Feng. "A wooden sword, a period of youth. I want to forget those days," said the moon goddess. "Everyone only has one period of youth. Why do you want to forget those days?" asked Lin Feng. "Is that a question you should be asking?" The moon goddess's eyes turned cold. Her voice was laced with cold, killing intent. Lin Feng could not help but keep quiet out of fear. The moon goddess had wanted to kill him earlier, but she had quickly restrained her killing intent. However, Lin Feng could still clearly sense the terrifying killing intent emanating from the moon goddess. What had happened in the past? If the moon goddess didn't say anything, then perhaps no one in this world would know what had happened back then. The moon goddess, the master of the gods, they had turned against each other, and it must have been because of some major event. But unfortunately, all of this was destined to remain a mystery. In the end, the moon goddess left. Lin Feng did not know where she was going. She did not tell Lin Feng where she was going. The moon goddess is not dead. She has lived to this era. Unfortunately, my ancestor, the master of gods, has already fallen. Lin Feng could not help but sigh. Chapter 4042. After receiving the letter, Sun Yudao carefully read through it. The contents of the letter were as follows. Do you still remember your old friends from Underworld Island? Back then, Sun Yudao had met Lin Feng on Underworld Island, but they had only exchanged a few simple words. They weren't familiar with each other. However, Sun Yudao had invited Lin Feng to the Immortal Gods Alliance as a guest. During that trip to Underworld Island, Sun Yudao had only met Lin Feng. Thus, when he saw the contents of the letter, Sun Yudao instantly recalled who had written the letter. Although he had only met Lin Feng once, he had a very deep impression of Lin Feng. Sun Yudao looked at Lu Chonglin and asked, "Where is the young master who wrote the letter?" Lu Chonglin replied, "My young master is staying in Spirit Origin Inn. He asked me to pass on a message that he will visit Brother Sun tomorrow at 8 in the morning." Sun Yudao was an imperial lord, and so was Lu Chonglin. Naturally, he addressed Sun Yudao as brother. Lu Chonglin was extremely shocked. He had long since noticed that Lin Feng was extraordinary, but now the person who had sent a letter to Lin Feng was actually an imperial lord. This was truly inconceivable. Lu Chonglin was also trying to guess who Lin Feng was. He hurriedly said, "All right, fellow Taoist, please go back and tell them that I will definitely welcome them with open arms tomorrow." "Then I'll take my leave," Lu Chonglin said. Sun Yudao personally escorted Lu Chonglin out. Next, Sun Yudao ordered the servants of the Immortal Gods Alliance to clean up every corner of the courtyard, then hung up red lanterns in preparation for the arrival of the honored guests. The servants, and even many cultivators of the Immortal Gods Alliance, began to discuss the identity of the honored guests who would be coming tomorrow. Why would the old ancestor value them so highly? The next day, there was still an hour before the appointed time of the visit. Sun Yudao had already led many of his subordinates to wait outside the residence for Lin Feng's arrival. This shocked many people. An expert like Sun Yudao was actually so humble. Just what level was the cultivator who was about to arrive? Everyone waited patiently. An hour later, a beast-drawn carriage drove over. An imperial lord is driving the carriage. Many people cried out in surprise. The person driving the carriage was Lu Chonglin. Even though Lu Chonglin didn't emit a terrifying aura, his cultivation was still there. His imperial lord aura told everyone that he was an imperial lord. "He's here." When he saw Lu Chonglin driving the carriage, Sun Yudao's expression brightened. He straightened his robes and waited his carriage. At this moment, there were many cultivators who came to watch. The ancestor of the Immortal God Alliance, Sun Yudao, personally came out to welcome them. An imperial lord, an imperial lord. Everyone was guessing what level of existence the person sitting in the beast carriage was, although the arrival's emperor's Li. But the person driving the carriage was an emperor lord. This was shocked. Yudao's Taoist. "Is everything all right?" A faint laugh came from the carriage. Then, Everyone saw a young man lift the carriage's curtain. Then he walked out of the carriage. Heavens, the big shot in the carriage is such a young man. Who exactly is this young master? Could he be the son of an immortal? Son of an immortal? That can't be, right? Are there still immortals? Of course there are. The three paramount realms, the undying realm. There are definitely immortals in those places. Many people began to discuss. Lin Feng was too young. He was such a young cultivator, yet he had an emperor realm expert as his driver, Sun Yudao. In order to welcome this young man, he even came out an hour earlier to wait for his arrival. All of this, it was enough to explain a lot of things. When the female cultivators in the crowd saw Lin Feng, they all looked like they were overflowing with peach blossoms. Such a handsome young man. Such an extraordinary identity. He was simply the Prince Charming that she yearned for in her dreams. How they wished Lin Feng would turn around and look at them. Now, if Lin Feng curled his finger, there would definitely be a large group of beauties throwing themselves at him. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Thank you for your concern. Young friend Ji, the outside is not the place to talk. Would you like to come to my residence for a chat? Sun Yudao said with a smile. His attitude was quite humble. Sun Yudao's actions were very respectful to Lin Feng. He did this. There was naturally a reason. Before this, Sun Yudao had already analyzed Lin Feng's identity. Sun Yudao's conclusion was as follows. The first conclusion. Lin Feng was the successor of a top-tier faction, and this faction should have an immortal overseeing it. The second conclusion. Lin Feng did not have a top-tier faction behind him. Everything Lin Feng had obtained so far was obtained by relying on his own ability. If his first guess was right, then even though Sun Yudao would treat Lin Feng politely, he would still be very polite. But in his heart, he actually did not think so. After all, Lin Feng also relied on the faction of his clan to obtain his current status. If the second conclusion was true, that would be too shocking. It could even be described as shocking, inconceivable, and unimaginable. How powerful was Lin Feng's cultivation to be able to do this? If the second conclusion was true, then Sun Yudao would naturally be in awe of Lin Feng. Although Sun Yudao did not know which conclusion was true, but Sun Yudao had a feeling. That feeling told Sun Yudao the situation of this young Master Ji in front of him was very likely to be the second conclusion. After everyone arrived at the living room, they took their seats. Lin Feng said with a smile, "Actually, I came here because I have something to ask of you." Fellow Sunday, hearing this, Sun Yudao was overjoyed. It did not matter if Lin Feng's situation was the first or the second conclusion. Lin Feng was a person worth befriending. Sun Yudao was worried that he could not get closer to Lin Feng. Now Lin Feng actually came to him for help. This made Sun Yudao overjoyed, because once he helped Lin Feng would owe him a favor. The ways of the world, the ways of the world. First, there was a favor to be able to befriend better. Young Master Ji, if you have anything to ask of me, Sun Yudao, will do it, even if I have to climb a mountain of swords or dive into a sea of fire. I will definitely not frown. Sun Yudao said. Chapter 40-43. Sun Yudao smiled and said, "So that's what you want. That's a small matter. I'll send someone to help young Master Ji. Also, I'll send 2 of young Master Ji's friends to get a token to participate in the competition. If you want to participate in the competition, you must have a token." However, it wasn't easy to get a token. Only the top factions would be able to get a quota. "Thank you, fellow Daoist son. Thank you. I'll accept it. If you need anything in the future, feel free to look for me." Lin Feng said with a smile. Son, Yu Dao had been waiting for Lin Feng to say that. When he heard Lin Feng's promise, he was overjoyed. However, he was still overjoyed. He said, Young Master Ji, please don't be so polite. Friends should help each other. After chatting for a while, Lin Feng was about to leave. Sun Yudao said, Young Master Ji, don't be in such a hurry to leave. A rising star from the Immortal Gods Alliance is about to arrive. He's young, but he's already broken through to the Sovereign Emperor realm. When he was still a Sovereign Emperor, he defeated a Sovereign Emperor. Now that he's broken through to the Sovereign Emperor realm, no one knows how strong he's become. When Lin Feng heard that, he couldn't help but be surprised. Who was that? How could he be so terrifying? Defeating a Sovereign Emperor at the Sovereign Emperor realm? Wasn't that the same as him? Lin Feng couldn't help but be interested in this person. Lin Feng asked, Who is this person? Fairy Yuling. She's the same as young Master Ji. They're both human cultivators. Sun Yudao said with a smile. So, it's her. Lin Feng nodded. He had heard of Fairy Yuling before. The Immortal Gods Alliance had 3 human cultivators. The first is called Daoist Wenxian. He's a Daoist. The second is called Fairy Yuling. She's very mysterious. The outside world doesn't know much about her. The third is called Celestial Sovereign Dao Sheng. He's also very powerful, unfathomable. Lin Feng had originally wanted to find these 3 human cultivators and ask them to help him get a token to participate in the competition. After Lin Feng had met Sun Yudao, he had asked Sun Yudao for help. These 3 human cultivators were very famous in the great heavenly sage world. Previously, the Immortal Gods Alliance had been attacking the Holy War Alliance. It was led by the 3 great cultivators of the human race. Some people said that the 3 great cultivators of the human race seemed to be inextricably linked to the 9 states. Therefore, the reason why the 3 powerhouses led the Alliance of Immortals to attack the Alliance of Holy War was to avenge the people who died in 9 regions. Fairy Yuling, Fairy Yu, to the Immortals was Fairy. Sun Yudao smiled and said, This is Fairy Yuling. He wasn't immortal. If young Master Ji takes a fancy to her, when the time comes, this old man can help young Master Ji to set them up. When Lin Feng heard Sun Yudao, he was speechless. Sun Yudao's thinking was too fast. How come he was talking about love in the blink of an eye? Sun Yudao continued, Young Master Ji, there's no need to be embarrassed. A real man, especially a dragon among men like Ji Hao. Only the most powerful and beautiful woman has the right to be Ji Hao's woman. Fairy Yuling is such a woman. Keep the goodies within the family. That's why I'm going to introduce Fairy Yuling to Ji Hao. If they can get married, it'll be a good story. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. Sun Yudao was just too enthusiastic. He couldn't refuse. Lin Feng said, Fellow Daoist son, there's no need to be in such a hurry. Let me meet with Fairy Yuling first. All right. Sun Yudao nodded. In the afternoon, Fairy Yuling arrived. When he saw her, Lin Feng's face was filled with disbelief. Fairy Yuling. She looked at Lin Feng. She also had a look of disbelief on her face. Sun Yudao thought that Lin Feng and Fairy Yuling had fallen in love at first sight. He was overjoyed. Sun Yudao wanted to get closer to Lin Feng. If he could get Lin Feng to marry Fairy Yuling, it would be a great help to the Immortal God Alliance. It would also be a great benefit to Sun Yudao. That was why Sun Yudao was so enthusiastic. Yuling, this is Ji Hao, the one I mentioned to you before. Ji Hao, this is Fairy Yuling. Sun Yudao enthusiastically introduced the 2 of them. Ji Hao, nice to meet you. Fairy Yuling bowed slightly to Lin Feng. She didn't directly greet Lin Feng. Nice to meet you, fairy. Lin Feng cupped his fists as well. I just remembered that I have some things to take care of. You two can chat for a while. I'll be back once I'm done. Tonight, we'll drink until we're drunk, Sun Yudao said with a smile. All right, take care, fellow Daoist son, Lin Feng said. Sun Yudao chuckled and left. This old man clearly wanted to give Lin Feng and Fairy Yuling some privacy. How did you become Fairy Yuling? Lin Feng looked at the female cultivator with a smile, yet not a smile. The famous Fairy Yuling was the Xian Yueling that Lin Feng had met when he went to the underground city to accept the mission. This woman was a peerless beauty. She was definitely a goddess. However, Lin Feng didn't know much about her. Lin Feng only knew that this woman was extremely mysterious. Lin Feng's jar was a precious treasure. Xian Yuling had given it to him. He. Why can't I be called Fairy Yuling? You're not Lin Feng now. You're Ji Hao in the eyes of others, Xian Yueling said with a smile. Lin Feng said, when I'm outside, I'll take on an alias. Moreover, the surname Ji is my mother's surname. There's nothing wrong with calling myself Ji Hao. On the other hand, I'm very curious about your identity. Back then, you gave me a mysterious feeling. Now that I think about it, there are many things that I can find clues about. Could it be that you have another identity? What identity? Xian Yueling asked Lin Feng with a smile. Lin Feng said, I'm the underground city's lord. Xian Yueling smiled non-committally. She then asked, why do you think I'm the city lord of the underground city? It's a kind of intuition, a very special intuition. I'm not sure if I'm right. Lin Feng asked curiously. Xian Yueling smiled and said, if you say I'm the underground city's lord, then I can be considered the underground city's lord. If you say I'm not the underground city's lord, then that's actually quite reasonable. Chapter 4044. Xian Yueling said, I'm the second city lord of the underground city. This second city lord, as the name suggests, I'm just a city lord in name. In my hands, I don't have much authority. That's why it's reasonable to say that I'm the city lord of the underground city, and that I'm not. So that's how it is. Lin Feng nodded and asked, then who's the first city lord of the underground city? My elder sister. Xian Yueling said, you have an elder sister? Lin Feng was surprised. Xian Yueling nodded and said, yes, my elder sister is also an outstanding beauty. Are you interested in getting to know her? Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, Fairy, don't tease me. Moreover, it's enough for me to know you. Xian Yueling curled her lips and said, you're getting bolder with your words. Lin Feng said, previously, Sun Yudao wanted to matchmake the two of us. What did you say? Xian Yueling asked. Of course I rejected him. I haven't even seen Fairy Yuling before, so how could I agree to your proposal? However, now that I've seen Fairy Yuling, I think we can continue to develop our relationship. Lin Feng said with a smile. Xian Yueling rolled her eyes at Lin Feng and said, you wish. If you want to woo me, you need to show me enough strength. However, your strength is still far from enough. Lin Feng said, you'll know once you try. Lin Feng stepped forward and grabbed Xian Yueling with his great capturing technique. Xian Yueling snorted softly. She slapped out with her palm, and it landed on her palm. She actually condensed millions of holy lights. Let me purify the evil in your heart, Xian Yueling said. Xian Yueling's purifying power was extremely powerful. When it shone down, it was boundlessly terrifying. When Lin Feng was enveloped by the purifying power, a strange feeling arose in his heart. This feeling seemed to be a kind of guilt. Lin Feng wanted to repent for his sins to Xian Yueling. What a strange ability. Xian Yueling's ability. It was indeed too strange. You want to influence my heart? Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Xian Yueling wanted to influence his heart, but how could Lin Feng let her have her way? He activated his Tao of Fate, and the guilt instantly disappeared. Since I can't subdue you, I'll let you try my other ultimate techniques. Will flower. Sovereign's descent. Lin Feng looked like a peerless monarch. He threw a punch at Xian Yuling. How many years has it been? How many years have you already reached such a level? Xian Yueling couldn't help but be shocked. When facing Lin Feng's attack, she didn't dare act carelessly. She raised her hand and punched the air. This was an extremely terrifying divine ability. Once it was unleashed, it could instantly form a powerful energy. Rumbling sound spread in the air. A gigantic amount of strength was rolling in waves and moving towards Lin Feng. Bang! The mystiques from both sides collided and were instantly annihilated. Lin Feng didn't use his full strength. Xian Yueling didn't use her full strength either. The two of them only had a simple spar. Do I qualify to be your man with my strength? Lin Feng asked Xian Yueling. Xian Yueling blushed and said, I'm only focused on the Tao. I have no interest in romance. When she said these words, Xian Yueling felt that she was going against her heart. She realized, when it came to Lin Feng, she had a special feeling that she couldn't describe. That special feeling made her feel happy when she was with Lin Feng. Xian Yueling clearly had a good impression of Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and didn't continue on this topic. He looked at Xian Yueling and asked, why did you come to the heavenly sage great world from the 9 prefectures? Or were you originally a human cultivator from the heavenly sage great world? Xian Yueling said, my father is a human cultivator from the 9 prefectures. He met my mother when he went out to train. My mother is a human cultivator from the heavenly sage great world. It looks like your mother's clan is quite powerful. Lin Feng said, yes, my mother's clan is very powerful. That's why they have some say in the Immortal Gods Alliance. Xian Yueling said, do you plan to stay in the heavenly sage great world forever? Lin Feng asked. Xian Yueling shook her head and said, I want to go to the undying world to take a look. That's the first of the 3,000 great worlds. It's a higher level world. There are many experts there. If I want to become a stronger cultivator, I have to go to the undying world. Lin Feng smiled and said, what a coincidence. I want to go to the undying world too. It looks like we're really fated. We actually thought of the same thing. Humph. Who thought of the same thing as you? Xian Yueling couldn't help but snort. Lin Feng said, if it's fate, we can't avoid it. How about this? Let's make an agreement. Shall we? What agreement? Xian Yueling looked at Lin Feng suspiciously. Lin Feng said, the undying world is vast and boundless. If we want to meet in the undying world, it's as difficult as ascending to the heavens. If we can meet in the undying world, then we'll be able to meet in the undying world. That's enough to prove that our fate is definitely preordained by the heavens. At that time, how about you be my woman? Don't even think about it. Xian Yueling said with a red face. Let's just happily agree to it. Lin Feng said with a smile. I didn't agree to it. Xian Yueling said, haha, you said no, but you've already agreed to it in your heart. Do you know why I know what you're thinking? That's because our hearts are linked. Lin Feng's face didn't turn red at all. Xian Yueling pursed her lips, but she didn't continue to refute Lin Feng. At the banquet, Sun Yudao looked at Lin Feng and Xian Yueling with a flirtatious gaze. Sun Yudao had seen everything. Naturally, he could tell that Lin Feng and Xian Yueling were progressing very quickly. That night, Lin Feng and son Yudao drank until they were dead drunk. Then, they rested for the night in the Immortal Gods Alliance's encampment. Over the next few days, everyone began to talk about the grand competition. The date of the grand competition was also set. It would take place 1 month later. Cultivators would need to present their tokens to register. Those who made it to the top 100 would be able to enter the Myriad Tribe's sacred palace to cultivate. During this period, many people were trying their best to get a token to participate in the grand competition. However, it was easier said than done. While the grand competition was causing a commotion outside, Lin Feng went into seclusion. Lin Feng decided to meditate in seclusion. Apart from practicing cultivation, Lin Feng also had 2 things he needed to do. First, he needed to continue deciphering the Evil Corpse ring. Second, Lin Feng planned to enter the 9th level of the Chonglu demonic palace. He wanted to see what was inside. Chapter 40-45. Lin Feng entered the temporal space. Currently, the temporal space's flow of time was 10, 1 compared to the outside world. 100 days in the temporal space was equivalent to 10 days in the outside world. Therefore, whenever Lin Feng went into seclusion, he would do so within the temporal space. Before going into seclusion, he had already told Taoist Wu Liang and the cursed doll to not disturb him. Furthermore, he had asked Lu Chonglin to personally guard him. Lin Feng sat cross-legged and took out the Evil Corpse ring. He began to break the restrictions on the ring. In the last 9 talismans of the ring, Lin Feng had already deciphered the talisman of the sky, destroying gorilla. As for the other 8 runes, Lin Feng had yet to break the Scarlet Golden Swanee Beast rune, the Ice Armored Horned Devil Dragon rune, the 8-clawed Fire Dragon rune, the 9-winged Heavenly Dragon rune, the Lightning Bat Dragon rune, the Blue-winged Sea Dragon rune, the Sea-splitting Mysterious Dragon Whale rune, and the Kuei Cow rune. Lin Feng began to break the 2nd rune. This time, Lin Feng broke the Scarlet Golden Swanee Beast rune. It wasn't an easy task to break the rune. Even though Lin Feng's understanding of arrays had reached an extremely profound level, it was still rather difficult to break the rune. In the end, Lin Feng spent close to a month to break the Scarlet Golden Swanee Beast rune, following which Lin Feng let out a long breath and kept the Evil Corpse ring. He would wait for the next breakthrough to break the 3rd rune. After resting for a short while, Lin Feng entered the Chonglu Devil Hall. "Young master." The Black Bear Sage appeared and bowed to Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded and said, "Bring me to the 9th level space to take a look." "Yes, young master, please follow me," the Black Bear Sage said as it waved its paw. In an instant, devilish light enveloped it and Lin Feng, following which the 2 of them disappeared. In the next moment, they were already in the 9th level space. In the 9th level space, there was actually a stone millstone. Furthermore, it was a stone millstone stained with blood. "What is this?" Lin Feng's face was full of confusion. The Black Bear Sage replied, "Not sure. Young master, you need to search for it yourself." Lin Feng nodded and dismissed the Black Bear Saint. He walked towards the stone millstone. The blood on the stone millstone had already dried up. He did not know whose blood it was. When Lin Feng saw the fresh blood on the millstone, he felt a sense of heaviness in his heart. He felt extremely stifled. And that feeling, it was terrible. Lin Feng hated that kind of oppressive feeling. Finally, Lin Feng came to the side of the stone millstone and reached out to touch it. "Is this a stone artifact?" Lin Feng could not help but mutter to himself. Stone tools had always possessed extraordinary and terrifying power. Even the lowest grade stone tools were great treasures. Lin Feng also had some stone tools such as the mysterious stone sword, the Green Mountain Sword, and the stone dagger. These were all stone tools. Every single one of them possessed extraordinary power. And now, if the stone millstone in front of Lin Feng was also a stone artifact, then its value would be too high. The naked eye could not tell if the stone millstone was a stone artifact or not. Lin Feng intended to refine it. He poured his magic power into the stone millstone. However, the stone millstone did not move at all. Damn, what was going on? Lin Feng could not help but mutter. If it was a stone artifact, it should be able to be refined with magic power. However, the stone millstone did not move at all. It was extremely strange. Lin Feng intended to refine it with his blood. He forced out a drop of blood and dripped it on the stone millstone. Fresh blood. Gradually, it fused into the stone millstone. Lin Feng originally thought that his blood would be able to refine the stone millstone. However, he soon realized that his blood was unable to refine the stone millstone. After the stone millstone absorbed Lin Feng's blood, Lin Feng's blood was like a clay ox entering the sea. It did not cause any ripples. How strange! Lin Feng furrowed his brows. He carefully observed the stone millstone. His expression was somewhat bewildered. Could he have guessed wrongly? Actually, the stone millstone was not a Dharma treasure. The only extraordinary thing was that the stone millstone was stained with the blood of a mysterious cultivator. Lin Feng intended to sense it and see if he could sense any special scenes. Lin Feng sat cross-legged and gradually entered a meditative state. Lin Feng began to sense the aura of the stone millstone. As time passed, Lin Feng gradually entered a mysterious state. After an unknown period of time, Lin Feng suddenly realized that he had appeared above an ancient city. A great battle had broken out in the ancient city. Earth-shattering roars resounded through the clouds. Densely packed cultivators soared into the sky. Above the 9 heavens were tumbling black clouds. Within the black clouds, no one knew what kind of existence existed. Ignite my battle blood. Cultivate my battle body. Sacrifice my body. Even if I die, I have no regrets. One cultivator after another roared. They sacrificed themselves, and their bodies exploded in the black fog. The densely packed cultivators rushed into the black fog one after another. Then, their bodies self-destructed. It was simply too tragic. Anyone who saw this scene would feel shocked. The black fog that was so dense that it was almost impossible to disperse began to thin under the self-destruction of a large number of cultivators. A cultivator held a stone millstone in his hand. Then he soared into the sky. Ignite my battle blood. Cultivate my battle body. Sacrifice my body. Even if I die, I have no regrets. The cultivator also roared. His body began to burn. He held the stone millstone and rushed into the black clouds. The self-destruction of those cultivators was only to open a passage inside the black clouds. Today, I will bury you. The cultivator's roar came from the black clouds. Impudent! A low roar came from the black clouds, and all the scenes disappeared. Lin Feng returned to the real world and looked at the stone millstone. The stone millstone was definitely an unimaginable treasure. However, perhaps after the previous battle, the stone millstone had some problems. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. He saw that the blood on the stone millstone seemed to be coming back to life. The stone millstone didn't change after absorbing my blood just now. It's just that this change is a little late. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. He stared at the stone millstone. Lin Feng felt that some shocking changes were about to happen in the stone millstone. However, Lin Feng didn't know what would happen to the stone millstone. Very quickly, Lin Feng realized that the blood on the millstones had turned into talismans. The runes combined to form a few ancient blood-red words. However, Lin Feng didn't recognize those words. Chapter 40-46. The Demon Lord was very knowledgeable, and he had a very deep understanding of ancient languages. Lin Feng would often ask the Demon Lord if he didn't know any ancient languages. The Demon Lord said, "When these words are put together, they can be understood as burying a sky." Burying a sky? You're saying that these words mean burying a sky? Lin Feng was shocked. Yes. The Demon Lord nodded. It was truly shocking and moving because the meaning of these words was too extraordinary. The so-called sky. It should be referring to the heavenly Tao, and it should be the great heavenly Tao. Burying a sky was burying the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao was high above, maintaining the order and rules of the world. It was rumored that the 33 layers of heaven were the embodiment of the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao was supreme, because those who lived in this world were bound by the heavenly Tao. This was something that no one could change. But now, a sky had been buried. Lin Feng suddenly thought of the great battle he had seen earlier. Was that incomparably tragic battle just to bury a heaven? The more Lin Feng thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Demon Lord, what do you think of these words? Lin Feng asked. The heavenly Tao is boundless. The heavenly Tao is heartless. The Demon Lord said. He only said these 8 words before falling silent. Lin Feng couldn't help but reveal a serious expression. Although it was only 8 words, these 8 words had an extraordinary meaning. The heavenly Tao had always been high above, and people were like ants before it. The Demon Lord's understanding of the heavenly Tao was clearly far superior to others. Demon Lord, do you know what kind of sky is included in this so-called sky? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. In truth, he had more or less heard of the word sky. For example, when people swore oaths, they would often say things like, "Yellow sky above, thick earth below, I swear with my soul," and so on. The so-called yellow sky, here, it was probably a kind of heaven, right? When making an oath, it was unknown when the custom of using the word Huang Tian began. However, since it had such an origin, there must have been someone who had studied the yellow sky in the past. In addition, there were also some familiar heavens such as Qing Tian, Sang Tian, and so on. Lin Feng didn't know if the heaven mentioned on the millstone had anything to do with the heaven that cultivators usually talked about. All of this was a mystery. It was thought-provoking, but it was hard to fathom. The Demon Lord shook his head and said, "I don't know much either." Lin Feng frowned. He felt that the Demon Lord should know, but the Demon Lord was unwilling to tell him at this time. That was why he said that he didn't know much about it. Perhaps the Demon Lord had some misgivings? The stone millstone is definitely a powerful treasure, but I wonder how to refine it. Demon Lord, do you have any ideas? Lin Feng asked. The Demon Lord said, "The stone millstone can't be refined because of some special circumstances. You've already refined it with your blood. Although you didn't refine it, it absorbed your blood and formed a special connection with your body. You can refine it every day. Perhaps after a long time, you'll be able to refine it." "All right, I'll give it a try and see if this method works," Lin Feng replied. Then, Lin Feng flew out of the Chenglu Devil Palace. Lin Feng went to check on Bibi, Draconic Rabbit, and Xiaolong. The 3 of them were currently in a deep slumber. This was because there were simply too many natural treasures in Lin Feng's space-time continuum. Therefore, the 3 of them liked to eat some precious natural treasures when they had nothing to do. There was simply too much energy accumulated in their bodies. They were still young. At this age, they could only absorb this energy through slumber. However, every time they woke up, their strength would increase greatly. This made Lin Feng quite happy. Among the three of them, Lin Feng knew the most about Draconic Rabbit. Bibi, on the other hand, was more mysterious. Even now, Lin Feng didn't know what race Bibi was. As for Xiaolong, it was also very mysterious. Lin Feng didn't know which race it belonged to. Lin Feng guessed that Xiaolong might be a direct descendant of the ancestral dragon. However, whether this guess was true or not, Lin Feng couldn't be sure. Lin Feng then observed the emperor archaic primordial ancestral insect, great desolate fiend-refining insect, and celestial devouring insect that he had nurtured. The emperor archaic and primordial ancestral insect had formed cocoons and were in the midst of a crucial transformation. The great desolate fiend-refining insect and celestial devouring insect had formed a swarm. This made Lin Feng very happy, following which Lin Feng sat cross-legged and began to comprehend the Dark Bible. The Dark Bible was the most mysterious and unfathomable. Moreover, it was a demonic scripture passed down from that mysterious world. If he succeeded in cultivating it, it would naturally bring unimaginable benefits to his cultivation. Of course, the Dark Bible was too strange. Once he cultivated the Dark Bible, he still had to guard against being controlled by it. However, Lin Feng had absolute confidence in himself. He believed that he could completely deal with the Dark Bible's control over him. Time passed day by day. Lin Feng stayed in the time-space for about 3 months. When he came out of seclusion, Lin Feng already had a certain understanding of the Dark Bible. However, he still couldn't cultivate it. The main reason was that the time he had to cultivate was still too short. If Lin Feng was given more time to cultivate the Dark Bible, Lin Feng would definitely be able to successfully cultivate it. After Lin Feng came out of seclusion, there were only 2 days left before the grand competition. Now, all the cultivators in Myriad Saints City were talking about the grand competition. I heard that there are no less than 20 fairies and immortal grandchildren coming. After Lin Feng saw Immeasurable Taoist and the cursed doll, Immeasurable Taoist said, "These people should all be experts who came out of the God's Stone, right?" Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Immeasurable Taoist said, "Not only did they come out of the God's Stone, it's said that there are also fairies and immortal grandchildren who came out of the undying realm to gain experience. They will also be participating in this grand competition. I'm looking forward to fighting with these guys. I wonder how strong they are." Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. The resources that those fairies and immortal grandchildren received were absolutely unimaginable. They had received the best training since they were young. Their combat strength was absolutely heaven-defying. This attracted Lin Feng's interest. Immeasurable Taoist said, "I don't want to meet those abnormal fellows. I just want to smoothly enter the top 100. The weaker the opponent, the better." The cursed doll grinned and said, "Hee, our thoughts really coincide." Following which, the three of them left their residence. They went to register together. After registering, they waited for 2 days. Dong, dong, dong. On this day, the sky had just brightened. The sound of the law bell rang out above the city of 10,000 saints. Everyone's spirits were suddenly lifted. The grand competition was about to begin. Chapter 4047. A large number of cultivators had gathered, and the place was bustling with activity. The reopening of the Myriad Races' sacred palace drove countless people crazy. However, most people were destined not to be able to cultivate in the palace. The major factions naturally hoped that their disciples would be able to enter the top 100. That way, If their disciples obtained any powerful abilities in the myriad race's sacred palace, they would be able to pass them down as family heirlooms. In this way, it would be a great improvement for a clan. Below the myriad race's sacred palace was a huge plaza that could hold 1,000,000 people. However, even such a huge plaza was packed with people by the time Lin Feng and the others arrived. It wasn't just the cultivators of the great sage world. Even the experts of the surrounding starfields had arrived. The starfields in the vicinity were inextricably linked to the 3 alliances of the myriad race's sacred palace, so they were able to obtain some tokens. They allowed their disciples to participate in the competition. Therefore, a large number of top experts had gathered for this competition. Although many of them were young, their battle prowess wasn't inferior to those old antiques. The characteristics of this era had created a large number of experts, and the final days of the Age of Doom were the best opportunities for cultivation. It was comparable to a golden age for cultivation. All sorts of opportunities were constantly appearing, and it was a good opportunity to greatly increase one's cultivation. The experts of the Immortal God clan are here. The Holy Son Xian Zongtian and the Holy Daughter Xian Lengen are here together. A cultivator pointed into the distance and exclaimed. A group of cultivators had arrived, all of them from the Immortal God clan. The 2 in the lead were the Holy Son and Holy Daughter Xian Lengen. Lin Feng had interacted with Xian Lengen before, but he hadn't had any contact with Xian Zongtian. There were dozens of cultivators from the Immortal God clan participating in the competition, but the most eye-catching ones were Xian Zongtian and Xian Lengen. The 2 of them were definitely outstanding figures among the younger generation of the Immortal God clan. Gongzi Nia and Gongzi Xian of the Sky Demon clan are here. A commotion could be heard from another direction. The newcomers were similarly extraordinary. Gongzi Nia naturally didn't need to be mentioned. He had countless opportunities and had even obtained the inheritance of a demon lord. His cultivation was unfathomable. Gongzi Xian was also a famous young expert of the Heaven Devil race, and his reputation wasn't much inferior to Gongzi Nia's. Now that the 2 of them had arrived with quite a number of young elites from the Heaven Fiend race, they were also eyeing the top 100 spots covetously. Shi Dao Mia of the Ancient God clan, Shi Dao Kuan is here too. In another direction, the top cultivators of the Ancient God clan arrived. They were also 2 extremely terrifying existences. Each of them had only cultivated for a little more than 10,000 years. Compared to Lin Feng, they were naturally extremely old. However, they were actually very young. After all, their lifespans were tens of millions of years, but they had only lived for a little more than 10,000 years. More and more experts arrived. Basically, the forces of the royal families of the 10,000 races arrived one after another. For example, experts from the Deity race, Golden Saint Lion race, Angel race, Qi Lian Heavenly Scorpion race, and other races had all arrived. In addition, some of the surviving races of the epics had also dispatched experts. The cultivators who could participate in this battle were all cultivators born in the last 30,000 years of this era. A few creatures from the endless ghost sand also appeared, some of them planning to participate in this battle. Buzz. Suddenly, a beam of sacred light shot out from the myriad tribes' sacred palace. Following that, numerous void arenas appeared, floating in midair. In the center of the arena, a female cultivator with an illusory body appeared. The female cultivator was dressed in white, and she was very beautiful. Her body was not real, but an illusory body that appeared. Everyone, the grand competition will begin in 2 hours. The arena battles. Don't overdo it. In the next 2 hours, the participants should prepare yourselves well. After the grand competition, there will be no more free time for everyone to rest. The female cultivator said. Many people pointed and whispered, guessing the female cultivator's identity. Lin Feng guessed that the female cultivator was very likely the weapon spirit of the myriad tribe's sacred palace. That was why she appeared at this moment. 2 hours passed very quickly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Beams of sacred light intertwined and shot out. The sacred light enveloped every cultivator, and every cultivator who was enveloped by the sacred light. In the next moment, they were teleported to the arenas. The cultivators on the arenas began to fight. Many of the battles were extremely intense. Wu Liang Daoist was also enveloped by a beam of sacred light and landed on an arena. Wu Liang Daoist performed a transformation technique and turned into a skinny young man who looked about 30 years old. This guy did not dare to show his real body, because if the forces of the myriad tribes discovered him, they would skin Wu Liang Daoist alive. Wu Liang Daoist's opponent was a rather beautiful female cultivator. The female cultivator yelled and dashed toward Wu Liang Daoist. Even though the boundless Taoist priest looked careless and carefree, Lin Feng knew him too well. This damned Taoist cultivation could definitely be described as unfathomable. His opponent's cultivation was not weak either, but it was far from Wu Liang Daoist. After more than 10 rounds, Wu Liang Daoist defeated the female cultivator. Then, Wu Liang Daoist flew down from the arena. Although the female cultivator did not give everyone time to rest alone, the time between the end of the competition mission and the next mission could be used to recover their state. After Wu Liang Daoist ended the battle, the cursed doll was also swept up by a beam of sacred light and landed on the arena. The immeasurable Daoist used some unknown method to turn the cursed doll into an 8 or 9-year-old child. It had flesh and blood, and its life aura was very young. Originally, the cursed doll's age was far beyond 30,000 years old and was not qualified to participate in the competition. However, Wu Liang Daoist's methods allowed the cursed doll to successfully participate in the competition. This damned Daoist's many methods shocked Lin Feng. The cursed doll's opponent was a male cultivator. The cursed doll only used 7 rounds to defeat the male cultivator. There were constantly cultivators who went up to the arena to compete, and there were also cultivators who left the arena after the outcome was decided. Swish! Another beam of sacred light shone down and enveloped Lin Feng. Lin Feng flew toward an arena. He landed on the arena. At the same time, Lin Feng's opponent also landed on the arena. Chapter 4048. This female cultivator looked so weak that it made people involuntarily feel pity for her. Perhaps even the most cold-hearted person would involuntarily have a good impression of this female cultivator after seeing her. They could not wait to hug this female cultivator in their arms and dote on her. Little brother, little sister really wants to advance in rank. Little brother, can you help little sister advance? If little brother agrees, little sister will definitely thank little brother heavily. The female cultivator's voice was soft and weak. She had a pitiful look on her face. At that moment, a thought suddenly appeared in Lin Feng's mind. He could not attack that female cultivator. No matter what, he could not attack that female cultivator. Charm technique. Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. That female cultivator looked delicate and pitiful, but in reality, this was just her appearance. As the saying went, one could not judge a book by its cover. Look at people. One could not judge a book by its cover. This sentence was naturally extremely suitable for this female cultivator. Lin Feng's willpower was strong, and he quickly dispelled those thoughts in his heart. Your charm technique. It's useless to me. Just attack. Don't show off these unorthodox tricks in front of me. Lin Feng said indifferently, Take my palm. Seeing that her charm technique did not have any effect on Lin Feng, the female cultivator immediately shouted and leaped out, slapping towards Lin Feng. The power of wind and thunder quickly gathered and condensed on the female cultivator's palm. The powerful power of wind and thunder fused together, forming a power that could distort space and time. Bang! Lin Feng arrived and exchanged a palm with the female cultivator. Although the female cultivator's divine ability was strong, it was weak in front of Lin Feng. Her divine ability was instantly broken by Lin Feng. Then, the female cultivator was forced back by Lin Feng. Her face could not help but turn pale. In reality, Lin Feng had already shown mercy. If he really attacked, he could kill this female cultivator with a palm. "You've lost," Lin Feng said. Although the female cultivator was unwilling, she knew that the difference between her and Lin Feng's boundary was too great. Now, he could only admit defeat. She bit her lips and gave Lin Feng a deep look before flying out of the ring. Lin Feng also flew into the ring. Thereafter, round after round of the grand competition continued. Lin Feng, immeasurable Taoist, and cursed doll did not encounter too many challenges and advanced all the way. Lin Feng saw Su Yueshi, who was participating in the competition. This woman's battle prowess was truly extraordinary. Along the way, he had defeated many opponents in a crushing manner. In addition, Lin Feng also saw an old friend. This old friend was none other than Gong Ziyu. Gong Ziyu obviously saw Lin Feng as well. The two of them exchanged glances. Now that Gong Ziyu was with some of his clansmen, Lin Feng and Gong Ziyu did not meet up immediately. Gong Ziyu's clansmen were also from the Heavenly Fiend clan. In the past, Gong Ziyu was a lone wolf. Now, he had clansmen from the Heavenly Fiend clan by his side. He wondered what Gong Ziyu had been through all these years. Could it be that he had returned to the Heavenly Fiend clan? There were too many people participating in the grand competition. Fortunately, there were enough void arenas. The battle went on for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, the top 10,000 were decided. The cultivators who could fight their way into the top 10,000 had extremely terrifying cultivation bases. One could imagine how difficult it would be to advance in the future. Swoosh! A beam of light shone down. It enveloped Lin Feng. In the next moment, Lin Feng landed in the arena. Lin Feng's opponent also landed in the arena. Lin Feng's opponent was actually a cultivator from the lost clan of the Epic. Moreover, it was a cultivator from the Nine Spirits Dao clan. This clan had a close relationship with Su Yueshi. Now, Su Yueshi was with the cultivator from the Nine Spirits Dao clan. Previously, Lin Feng had had an intense conflict with the Dao martial sect of the Nine Spirits Dao clan. The people from the Nine Spirits Dao clan had an extremely strong desire to kill Lin Feng. "Ah, it's you? I really didn't expect this." The cultivator from the Nine Spirits Dao clan was slightly taken aback when he saw that his opponent was Lin Feng. Then, a sinister expression appeared on his face. This cultivator from the Nine Spirits Dao clan clearly did not take Lin Feng seriously. It seemed that this person had some extraordinary means to be so arrogant. If that was not the case, how could this guy be so arrogant? Lin Feng sneered. No matter how powerful this guy's means were, in his opinion, he was not much of a threat. Lin Feng was confident in his own strength. Below the arena, the Dao martial sect, Su Yueshi, and the others also saw the two people who were about to fight in the arena. Su Yueshi raised her eyebrows slightly and said, "I'm afraid that Dao martial sect is no match for Lin Feng." The Dao martial sect said with a smile, "Don't underestimate Wu Cheng. You'll know how amazing his means are later." Oh, hearing this, Su Yueshi looked surprised. Then she said with a smile, Then I'll wait and see. Kid, do you know what's going to happen to you? Dao Martial Sect said with a sinister smile. Lin Feng looked at the cultivator from the Nine Spirits Dao clan. Then he said, "Don't try to act tough in front of me. You don't even have the right to make me attack you. It's your ancestors' fault for encountering me. However, I'm in a good mood today. Kneel on the ground and bark like a dog, and I'll let you go." What the hell? Who is that kid? He actually made an expert from the lost clan of the epic kneel on the ground and bark like a dog. That kid is so young, but he's so arrogant. I wonder how the cultivator from the lost clan of the epic will deal with him. The lost clan of the epic is vicious. That kid actually dared to humiliate the lost clan of the epic. He's definitely dead. Many cultivators discussed among themselves. Some of the cultivators who knew Lin Feng looked at the battle that was about to begin indifferently. For example, Gong Xingye and the others. Naturally, they hoped that Lin Feng would die in the hands of the lost clan of the epic. Hee, what a boastful person. A sinister smile appeared on Dao Martial Sect's face. I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Lin Feng pursed his lips. At this moment, he had already decided to kill Dao Martial Sect's cultivator. Killing these people from the lost clan of the epic would be doing the people a favor. Within 10 moves, I'll be able to take your dog life. A disdainful expression appeared on Dao Martial Sect's face. He did not take Lin Feng seriously at all. In his opinion, dealing with Lin Feng was too easy. Chapter 4049. Dao Wucheng's attack was quite powerful, but in Lin Feng's eyes, it was nothing. In the face of Dao Wucheng's attack, Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He immediately used a thought-blooming flower, Sovereign's Descent. Lin Feng wanted to end the battle quickly. He did not want to be entangled with this guy any longer. Lin Feng's mystique was a mystique passed down by the Devil Lord. How terrifying was its power! The difference between Dao Wucheng's attack and Lin Feng's attack was like the difference between the sky and the earth. Moreover, Dao Wucheng's strength was not as good as Lin Feng's, and his mystique was not as good as Lin Feng's. It was easy to imagine what would happen to him. Lin Feng's attack instantly broke through Dao Wucheng's energy palm and ruthlessly slammed into Dao Wucheng's body. Cracking sounds spread in the air. Dao Wucheng's bones were broken. He didn't know how many of his bones were broken by Lin Feng. Wah! Dao Wucheng was still in midair when he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was as pale as paper. Lin Feng's attack had caused great damage to Dao Wucheng. With a thud, Dao Wucheng's body fell heavily to the ground. Everyone was completely dumbfounded. Dao Wucheng had previously said that he would be able to finish off Lin Feng within 10 moves. However, the two of them had only exchanged one move. Dao Wucheng was already spitting out blood from Lin Feng's attack. Many of his bones had also been broken. This reversal was so fast that many people could not react in time. Now that they thought about what Dao Wucheng had said, it was really a slap in the face. However, Dao Wucheng had slapped his own face. That kid is so powerful. I wonder who that kid is. There are so many foreign cultivators now. Is that kid a foreign cultivator? Maybe he's a foreign cultivator. He looks so unfamiliar. He doesn't look like a cultivator from our heavenly sage great world. Many cultivators began to discuss Lin Feng's background. Just then, someone said, "That guy is Lin Feng, the genius of the human clan from the 9 states world." What? Is he that Lin Feng? Oh my God, this brat is Lin Feng? This fellow actually dares to come to our heavenly sage great world, and he's participating in the competition so brazenly. The cultivators on the square were in an uproar. Those cultivators who didn't know about Lin Feng's identity before were all shocked when they found out about Lin Feng's true identity. Everyone's heart seemed to be in a state of shock. Lin Feng. This name was simply too familiar to the cultivators of the myriad races. Everyone may not have seen Lin Feng, but they must have heard of Lin Feng. The emperors of the 9 provinces' great world joined forces and defeated the allied army of the myriad races, the foreign creatures, and some cultivators of the great worlds. The person who played a key role was Lin Feng. Lin Feng was the bridge between the emperors. Because of Lin Feng, the emperors were united as one. Therefore, the cultivators of the Sacred War Alliance, who had participated in the invasion of the 9 states' world, hated Lin Feng to the bone. Even in their dreams, they wanted to kill Lin Feng. Although the cultivators of the Alliance of Immortals and Demons did not have any grudges with Lin Feng, they had heard of Lin Feng's reputation. And now they finally saw Lin Feng. A few years ago, I heard that Lin Feng had come to the heavenly sage great world. I thought it was fake news, but it turns out it's true. I heard the news too, but I didn't think much of it. This guy came to participate in the competition so brazenly. Does he not have any respect for our Sacred War Alliance? He's too arrogant. Let's wait and see. Our Holy War Alliance will definitely send experts to kill this kid. All the cultivators were discussing Lin Feng. Some were interested in Lin Feng. Some were filled with killing intent towards Lin Feng. Some were indifferent. Brat, I'm going to tear you to pieces. Dao Wucheng roared angrily. His eyes were filled with killing intent and endless hatred. Being beaten by Lin Feng to the point of vomiting blood was a great humiliation to Dao Wucheng. Dao Wucheng was close to going crazy. A piece of trash like you actually wants to tear me into 1,000 pieces? Are you still dreaming? Lin Feng said sarcastically. Lin Feng had been extremely arrogant from the beginning and was still so arrogant. Previously, everyone thought that Lin Feng was courting death by being so arrogant in front of Dao Wucheng. But now that they saw how arrogant Lin Feng was, they felt that it was only right. Only with strength could one be arrogant. So what if one was arrogant with strength? If one was arrogant without strength, one would be an idiot. Dao Wucheng said with a sinister smile. Later, you'll know how pathetic and laughable you are. As soon as Dao Wucheng finished speaking, he took out a golden skeleton. After seeing the golden skeleton, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. Awaken, great undying golden body, Dao Wucheng called out sincerely. After he finished speaking, Dao Wucheng spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood essence towards the golden skeleton. Blood essence was precious. In order to kill Lin Feng, Dao Wucheng couldn't care less about it. After Dao Wucheng spat out his blood essence on the golden skeleton, the blood essence was quickly absorbed by the golden skeleton. After absorbing Dao Wucheng's blood essence, the golden skeleton emitted an extremely terrifying aura. That aura, it was simply hair-raising. It was as if an ancient existence had awakened from a deep slumber. Many people sensed the aura emanating from the golden skeleton. His body simply could not withstand the terrifying pressure emanating from the golden skeleton. Thump, thump, thump. Many cultivators even knelt on the ground. Crack, crack. The golden skeleton began to shake its head. Swoosh, swoosh. 2 rays of golden light shot out from its eye sockets. The terrifying golden skeleton had completely awakened. This is Su Yueshi stared at the golden skeleton in bewilderment. The golden skeleton gave her goosebumps. Dao Wucheng, who was standing at the side, said with a smile, "This is a golden skeleton that Wucheng obtained through a fortuitous encounter. This golden skeleton is extremely terrifying. Moreover, it seems to have an obsession that hasn't been extinguished. Through some special means, the golden skeleton can be awakened. Once this golden skeleton awakens, many Emperor Realm cultivators won't be its match, let alone Lin Feng. Just wait and see. Lin Feng is doomed. Chapter 40-50. Ha ha ha. The golden skeleton has awakened. Brat, let's see how you'll die later. Wu Daochong laughed maniacally when he saw that the golden skeleton had awakened. Lin Feng had thought that Wu Daochong had some trump cards up his sleeves, and it turned out that his trump card was this skeleton. The skeleton was indeed powerful. It was no wonder that Wu Daochong was so fearless. However, he was still far from being able to act tough in front of Lin Feng with just a skeleton. A broken skeleton should have returned to the earth a long time ago. How dare you show it off? Lin Feng sneered. Brat, you're too arrogant. You'll be crying later. Wu Daochong laughed sinisterly. As soon as he finished speaking, he activated the skeleton. Terrifying shockwaves swept across the area. Although the skeleton had awakened, it still needed the support of Wu Daochong's magic power. After receiving the support of Wu Daochong's magic power, the skeleton's aura grew stronger. The skeleton's aura grew more and more terrifying. Brat, die. The skeleton let out a low and cold voice. He leaped up, and when he reappeared, he was already in a daze. When it appeared again, it had already arrived beside Lin Feng. The skeleton slammed its palm toward Lin Feng. The power of the palm was enough to destroy the world, but Lin Feng didn't look scared in the face of the skeleton's terrifying attack. 9 forms of the true dragon. Lin Feng made his move and displayed the 9th inheritance of the true dragon emperor. As soon as the 9 forms of the true dragon was displayed, a huge true dragon appeared behind Lin Feng. The true dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Its roar shook the sky as it pounced toward the golden skeleton. Bang! Following a violent collision, Lin Feng's true dragon shadow collided with the golden skeleton. The golden skeleton was sent flying by Lin Feng's true dragon shadow. However, the most shocking thing was that the golden skeleton did not seem to have suffered any damage. Its defensive power was truly terrifying. Grand, heaven, creation, palm. Suddenly, the golden skeleton let out a low roar. Then, it threw a palm strike at Lin Feng. That palm contained an unimaginably terrifying power. The heavenly creation palm contained the power of the path of creation, which was the 5th great path. Such a great Tao. It was ranked at the top of the 3,000 great Taos, and it was extremely powerful. The power of the great heaven creation palm was unfathomable. What a terrifying ability. After feeling the terrifying power of the heavenly creation palm, many people couldn't help but reveal a horrified expression. This technique was truly too frightening. Everybody was looking at Lin Feng. They didn't know if Lin Feng would be able to resist such a powerful punch. 9 styles of the true dragon. 9 dragons attack. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. This time, he summoned 9 true dragons. Roar! The 9 true dragons let out a series of high-pitched dragon roars. That terrifying dragon roar reverberated through the clouds and shook the 9 heavens. The 9 true dragons directly pounced on the golden skeleton. Along with a violent collision that shook the heavens and the earth, the 9 true dragons collided with the golden skeleton. The golden skeleton was sent flying, and a cracking sound was heard. Numerous cracks had appeared on the golden skeleton's surface. Taking the attack of the 9 true dragons, the golden skeleton suffered great damage. However, soon, everyone's face revealed an expression of disbelief. This was because everyone saw that the golden skeleton was cracking continuously. It had actually completed self-repair. The ability of immortality. Many people's eyes suddenly widened. The golden skeleton had the ability of immortality. This was truly unbelievable. Many people were guessing the origin of the golden skeleton when it was alive. This golden skeleton is quite interesting. I've taken a liking to it, Lin Feng said. He stepped forward and pressed toward the golden skeleton. He felt that this golden skeleton was extraordinary, the ability of immortality. It was the bloodline ability of the Undying clan. However, this golden skeleton did not belong to the Undying clan. If it belonged to the Undying clan, Lin Feng would be able to sense the aura of the same origin. However, Lin Feng did not sense any aura of the same origin. Therefore, he could determine that the golden skeleton did not belong to the Undying clan. Since it did not belong to the Undying clan, then what was the origin of this golden skeleton? In this world, naturally, the Undying clan was not the only clan that possessed the ability of immortality. There might be other clans that possessed the ability of immortality as well. Of course, some people might even awaken the ability of immortality after birth. This was highly possible. For example, Lin Feng's father, Lin Beitian, had awakened the bloodline of destiny after birth. This was actually the same principle. After sensing the terrifying aura in Lin Feng's body, the golden skeleton could not help but tremble violently. Human, skeleton, unite as one, Dao Wuchong shouted in a deep voice. After his voice fell, the golden skeleton turned into a golden ray of light and rushed into Dao Wuchong's body. Crack, crack. Then the sound of bones cracking could be heard from Dao Wuchong's body. After the sound was heard, Dao Wuchong's body underwent a huge change. His body became 10 times bigger. Dao Wuchong turned into a giant and threw a punch at Lin Feng. You can't even withstand a single blow. Facing Dao Wuchong's attack, Lin Feng's face was filled with disdain. The power of destiny circled around his palm. Lin Feng used the divine ability, Destiny's Palm. Bang! A huge sound was heard. He and Dao Wuchong collided violently. Lin Feng's divine ability instantly broke Dao Wuchong's attack. Dao Wuchong was forced back by Lin Feng's palm. Meanwhile, Lin Feng disappeared from his original spot and appeared in front of Dao Wuchong in the next moment. His palm was aimed at Dao Wuchong's head. Die! Dao Wuchong roared. He clenched his huge fist and smashed it at Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng's speed was too fast. Before Dao Wuchong's fist landed on Lin Feng's body, Lin Feng's palm had already landed on Dao Wuchong's forehead. That terrifying force instantly pierced through Dao Wuchong's head. With a loud bang, Dao Wuchong's body fell to the ground. He was dead. A golden ray of light flew out of Dao Wuchong's body. It was the golden skeleton that transformed into it. That golden light quickly rushed outside, wanting to escape without a trace. Chapter 40:51. Monstrous manna filled the air, directly suppressing the golden light that was trying to escape. The fleeing golden light turned back into a golden skeleton. Kid, let go of me. The golden skeleton roared and struggled, trying to break free from Lin Feng's suppression. The golden skeleton still had a lingering will that could think. It was indeed extraordinary. You will become my slave, Lin Feng said. Lin Feng walked toward the golden skeleton. Boundless Buddhist energy swirled around him. Lin Feng seemed to have transformed into an eminent monk. He reached out and tapped the golden skeleton's forehead. In an instant, a powerful purification energy surged into the golden skeleton's body. Dense runes appeared on the surface of the golden skeleton. Those runes were condensed from the purification energy. Each rune was mysterious and unfathomable. They contained boundless divine energy. You want to purify me, you evil monk? The golden skeleton shrieked in horror. Damn your whole family, damn your whole family. Lin Feng pursed his lips and increase the purification energy. Eventually, a large amount of purification energy surged into the golden skeleton. Lin Feng successfully purified the golden skeleton. Immediately after, Lin Feng put the golden skeleton away and flew off the battle stage. Isn't Lin Feng too powerful? Even an expert from the epic Lost clan was easily killed by him after using all his trump cards. I'm afraid only those peerless geniuses with higher cultivation bases can defeat him. Yeah, they don't have enough talent. Even if they're stronger than Lin Feng, they still won't be a match for him. Only those who are as talented as him and stronger than him have a chance of killing him. In that case, there are too few people who can defeat him. Peak existences from the myriad of races like Gong Zongni and Xian Zongtian might have a chance. Some peak existences from the epic Lost clan like the Dao martial ancestor should have the ability to defeat him. The few living beings from the undying realm should have the ability to kill him. Those fairies, even Xian Zongsuan, can do it. Many people began to discuss. Lin Feng completely ignored the discussions of the outside world. Lin Feng didn't care about other people's contempt. No matter how good his mouth sounded, he didn't have much real skill in his hands. Everything was in vain. When the time comes, only death awaited them, just like Dao Wuchong. Damn it! Damn it! Wuchong actually died at the hands of this brat. This brat really deserves to die 1,000 times. The Dao martial sect's face was extremely gloomy, and there was a glint of killing intent in his eyes. At this moment, he wanted nothing more than to rush over and kill Lin Feng, but this was not allowed by the rules. As long as one participated in the large competition, they would have to fight to the death on the stage. Otherwise, they would have to wait for the competition to end. Therefore, the Dao martial sect suppressed the endless killing intent towards Lin Feng in his heart. Su Yueshi said, "Lin Feng has always had great luck. He's indeed not easy to deal with." The Dao Wuzong said coldly, "That's because he hasn't met me yet. If he had met me, he would have. If he had met me, I would have killed him." Su Yueshi smiled and said, "I'm naturally very confident in Brother Wuzong. I'm looking forward to Brother Wuzong meeting Lin Feng and killing Lin Feng." Ha 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 ha. I'm looking forward to this scene too. The Dao martial sect revealed a smile. The battle on the stage continued, and cultivators went up the stage one by one. Wu Liang Taoist and Cursed Doll went up the stage one after another. They were powerful, and the key was that their techniques were very strange. Wu Liang Taoist's various techniques were overwhelming. On the other hand, Cursed Doll used the Tao of Curses as its foundation. Its various divine powers were impossible to guard against. Lin Feng carefully observed Gongzi Yu's situation and discovered that Gongzi Yu had improved at a rapid pace over the years. His cultivation was extremely powerful, and his opponents were basically unable to pose too much of a threat to Gongzi Yu. Lin Feng also observed the strength of those fairies and immortal grandchildren. These people were indeed worthy of being the direct descendants of immortal realm experts. They were indeed incomparably terrifying, causing others to fear them. Several cultivators from the undying realm stood together. It seemed like they came out to train together. The power structure of the undying realm was extremely complicated, so Lin Feng didn't know which power those cultivators belonged to. However, Lin Feng discovered that those cultivators were ruffian. They didn't seem like disciples nurtured by a large family, but their cultivation was extremely terrifying. Lin Feng also discovered something. Every time those fellows from the undying realm saw some cultivators taking out powerful magic treasures, their eyes would shine. After seeing the gazes of those cultivators, Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself, That kind of gaze was exactly the same as immeasurable Taoist's gaze when he saw the supreme treasure. This was a kind of greedy gaze, as if they couldn't wait to immediately snatch those treasures. Are these guys really from the undying realm? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. Those people's divine senses were extremely terrifying. As if noticing that Lin Feng was sizing them up, several cultivators from the undying realm turned their heads to look at Lin Feng. Then they even grinned at Lin Feng. The perception of these people's divine senses surprised Lin Feng. Lin Feng also smiled at them. Round after round of the competition continued. Lin Feng's journey was quite smooth. He successfully killed his way into the top 1,000. In the end, there were only a few rounds left before the top 100 would be decided. First, it was the battle for the top 500. Then, it was the battle for the top 250. Then, it was the battle for the top 150 to the top 125th. At this point, the battle would be a mixed battle. The first 25 people to be eliminated would be eliminated, and the rest would advance. Mixed battle was the cruelest way of fighting. Because there were so many people, anyone could be eliminated. Their individual combat strength might be very strong, but what if the others joined forces to kill you? Although this kind of mixed battle was extremely cruel, it was also the most exciting way of fighting. When the time came, the cultivators who participated in the mixed battle would all have heaven-defying combat strength. Everyone was a person with great fortune. Moreover, each of them had many trump cards up their sleeves. Once the mixed battle started, it would definitely be exciting. Swoosh! A beam of light shone down and enveloped Immeasurable Taoist. Immeasurable Taoist stepped into the arena. At the same time, Immeasurable Taoist's opponent also stepped into the arena. When Immeasurable Taoist saw his opponent, his face turned green. Immeasurable Taoist's opponent was an immortal grandson. This cultivator was called Zhou Tongtian. It was rumored that his grandfather was a true immortal powerhouse. This damned Taoist is probably in trouble. Cursed Doll said. Lin Feng couldn't help but nod. Chapter 4052. At the sight of Wuliang Taoist's tearless expression, Lin Feng revealed a smile. It was rare to see Wuliang Taoist in such a defeated state. Of course, Lin Feng knew that Wuliang Taoist was in trouble. However, he was still quite confident in Wuliang Taoist. Lin Feng had never seen the boundless Taoist priest's true colors, but he had never seen through him. This damned Taoist had many terrifying trump cards. Brother, how about we make a deal? Wuliang Taoist grinned at Zhou Tongtian. Who are you? Who are you calling your brother? Zhou Tongtian threw a disdainful glance at Wuliang Taoist. Wuliang Taoist said with a smile, Brother, I have the first volume of the Great Wilderness Sutra. If you could help this little brother advance to the next level, I will give you the first volume of the Great Wilderness Sutra. The Supreme Immortal Sutra, the Great Wilderness Sutra? Zhou Tongtian widened his eyes at once. The Great Wilderness Sutra was definitely one of the most famous ancient immortal sutras. It was an ancient immortal sutra that countless people dreamed of. However, the Great Wilderness Sutra was always shrouded in mystery. Additionally, it was hard to explore. If one could obtain the Great Wilderness Sutra, he might be able to reach the realm of immortals in the future. Even though Zhou Tongtian was an immortal's grandson, he was also very interested in the Great Wilderness Sutra. In fact, the immortals of the past who were able to create a complete immortal scripture were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. Many immortal sutras were often created by generations of immortals who worked hard and spent their entire lives creating them. It could be seen how difficult it was to find an immortal sutra. As for the top-level Great Wilderness Sutra, it was enough to drive people crazy. What the F asterisk CK? Is that possible? The cultivators who were watching the battle below rolled their eyes. The arrogance competition had begun. This was the first time that someone had bribed his opponent with a treasure. Many people were extremely disdainful of Taoist Wu Liang and looked at him with disdain. Lin Feng patted his forehead. This damned Taoist, what is he trying to do this time? Because Lin Feng knew that this damned Taoist didn't have the Great Wilderness Sutra at all. Grand Primordial Founder only completed 1/3 of the Great Wilderness Sutra. However, Lin Feng got the remaining 1/3 of the Great Wilderness Sutra. Infinite Taoist didn't inherit the Great Wilderness Sutra. The cursed doll said, "This damned Taoist is probably trying to trick someone again, right?" Lin Feng said, "This guy has the ability to fight with Zhou Tongtian, but he chose to use such a wretched method. It really suits this guy's personality." The character of the immeasurable Taoist. The word wretched was enough to describe him. Therefore, now, immeasurable Taoist wanted to scheme against Zhou Tongtian. It was indeed immeasurable Taoist's usual style. Naturally, Lin Feng and the cursed doll would not say anything. "Give me the Great Wilderness Sutra. I'll spare your life. Or else, only death awaits you." Zhou Tongtian looked at Taoist Wu Liang indifferently. He was very interested in the Great Wilderness Sutra. At the same time, he also wanted to continue advancing. Zhou Tongtian's methods were powerful, and he was extremely confident in himself. He believed that he could suppress Wu Liang Taoist with a flick of his finger. Since he already knew that Wu Liang Taoist had the Great Wilderness Sutra, he could just snatch it from him. Ha! That guy shot himself in the foot. That's right. Now that Zhou Tongtian wants the Great Wilderness Sutra from him. If he doesn't hand it over, he will definitely die. Many people couldn't help but laugh. Many people felt that Wu Liang Taoist was shameless. It was simply a disgrace to the cultivation world. Now that they saw that immeasurable Taoist was about to be unlucky, they were naturally incomparably excited. They all had gloating expressions. Wu Liang Taoist said, "F asterisk CK. How can you be so shameless? Bah, how dare this guy say that others are shameless?" Many people rolled their eyes as they despised Wu Liang Taoist very much. Wu Liang Taoist was really shameless. Obviously, he wanted to exchange the Great Wilderness Sutra for a chance to promote to a higher level. However, the other party didn't agree with him. Wasn't it normal for the other party to snatch away the Great Wilderness Sutra? How dare he say that others are shameless? Truly, a shameless person is invincible. I don't have time to chat with you. Hand over the Great Wilderness Sutra, or else die. Zhou Tongtian looked at Wu Liang Taoist indifferently. A terrifying aura was emitted from his body. Everyone saw that the void around Zhou Tongtian started to distort violently. He hadn't even made a move yet, but the aura emitted from his body had already caused the void to distort violently. It was hard to imagine how terrifying this person was. "I beg for mercy. Don't kill me." Wu Liang Taoist cried out loudly. "F asterisk CK. This guy is really a coward. He should at least exchange a few moves before begging for mercy. He's really a good-for-nothing." How did a good-for-nothing like him advance to the top 1,000? Many people couldn't help but murmur. They felt that it was really inconceivable for Wu Liang Taoist to advance to the top 1,000. "Since you're begging for mercy, I'll spare your life. Hand over the Great Wilderness Sutra." Zhou Tongtian said to Wu Liang Taoist with his hands behind his back. At this moment, Zhou Tongtian was in high spirits, and his aura could swallow mountains and rivers. Many people couldn't help but sigh. As expected of the immortal grandson, This kind of temperament was not something that ordinary people could possess. Wuliang Taoist took out an ancient bronze book. There were many mysterious runes on the cover of the ancient bronze book. An ancient aura was emitted from the ancient bronze book. Is that the ancient bronze book that records the Great Wilderness Sutra? Many people couldn't help but stare. Whoosh! Some cultivators quickly flew towards the arena. The Great Wilderness Sutra, such a supreme treasure, was enough to drive numerous people crazy. You're interfering with the competition. You're courting death. The illusory woman on the main arena had a cold expression. She gently waved her jade-like hand in the void. Suddenly, a beam of sword chi slashed out. It was the sword chi. It was as fast as lightning towards the cultivator, who wanted to snatch the ancient bronze book. The cultivator was terrifying, but he was powerless against the attack of the sword chi. His emperor-level defensive magic treasure was instantly torn apart. Then, the cultivator was cut in half by the sword chi. The female cultivator didn't care about the process of the competition. Even if you bribed someone to advance, it was your own ability. However, if anyone dared to interfere with the competition, only death would await them. Countless people couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air when they saw that powerful cultivator being killed in an instant. That female cultivator was too terrifying. With the power of the myriad tribes' sacred palace, that female cultivator's combat strength had probably reached the immortal level. This is the Great Wilderness Sutra. Please kindly accept it. Wuliang Taoist handed the ancient bronze book to Zhou Tongtian with a long face. Zhou Tongtian took the ancient bronze book and opened it. He wanted to take a closer look. Who would have thought that the ancient bronze book would fly up and open on its own? I'm going to crush your head. The ancient bronze book spoke and suddenly closed. Then the ancient book fiercely clamped Zhou Tongtian's head. The ancient bronze book's power was terrifying. Chapter 4053. Weak, you're too weak. You're just a piece of trash. The bronze book screamed after knocking Zhou Tongtian out. Holy shit, a book has become a spirit. Many people's faces showed an expression of disbelief. It was really inconceivable that a book could become a spirit. But it was all real. Moreover, the book was terrifying. It moved as fast as lightning and almost crushed Zhou Tongtian's head. Zhou Tongtian was the grandson of an immortal and had such a powerful cultivation base, but he ended up like this. Many people couldn't help but sigh. This guy has been scheming against Zhou Tongtian all this time. Some people couldn't help but murmur, feeling that it was very likely. In fact, Wuliang Taoist had been scheming against Zhou Tongtian all this time. Many people felt that immeasurable Taoist had already predicted that Zhou Tongtian would rob the Great Wilderness Sutra when he mentioned the Great Wilderness Sutra. And that was indeed how things went. Zhou Tongtian took the Great Wilderness Sutra by force. So Wuliang Taoist gave the strange bronze book to Zhou Tongtian. But who would have thought that the bronze book was so powerful? It moved in an instant and almost crushed Zhou Tongtian's head. Now, Zhou Tongtian was lying on the ground, half dead. Immeasurable Taoist put away the bronze book. He smiled and waved his hand at the cultivators below, causing deafening boos from the cultivators below. Wuliang Taoist shrunk his head and flew down. The competition continued. Before long, Lin Feng also stepped onto the arena. Lin Feng's opponent was a sword cultivator. The sword cultivator's name was Ling Hujian. His sword skills were divine. Lin Feng was fighting against that cultivator. He had almost been cut in two by that cultivator's sword. That cultivator was terrifying. Lin Feng's facial expression changed drastically. However, Lin Feng was still one step ahead of him. In the end, he defeated Ling Hujian. The cursed doll then went up the stage. Its opponent was also an extremely terrifying cultivator. This cultivator was a cultivator from the Black Flame Devil clan. The Black Flame Devil clan was one of the royal clans of the myriad races. They were extremely powerful, and generally, no one dared to provoke them. The devil techniques that they had passed down were extremely terrifying and strange. The cursed doll and the cultivators of the Black Flame Devil race began to fight. The Black Flame Devil race cultivators used all kinds of strange techniques. The Black Flame Devil clan's cultivator had many means that made people tremble in fear. Anyone who encountered this Black Flame Devil clan's cultivator would find it difficult to deal with him. However, this Black Flame Devil clan's cultivator just had to encounter the cursed doll. The cursed doll's methods were known for being strange. He had mastered many strange and terrifying methods, each of which seemed to be closely related to the Tao of Curses. After a fierce battle between the two sides, in the end, the cursed doll defeated the Black Flame Devil clan cultivator. Of course, although the cursed doll had won, the process was also quite dangerous. The Black Flame Devil race cultivators posed a significant threat to the cursed doll. The battle for advancing from 1,000 to 500 lasted for about 6 hours. After the battle, it was time for the battle for advancing from 500 to 250. As the number of people participating in the grand competition decreased, the number of arenas decreased as well. When the battle for advancing from 500 to 250 began, there were only 50 arenas left. The 50 arenas began to fight at the same time. Swoosh, swoosh. Beams of light shone down and engulfed the cultivators one after another. Then, those cultivators landed on the arenas. Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and the immeasurable Taoist went up the arenas at the same time. Lin Feng's opponent was an extraterritorial cultivator. His origin was unknown, but his cultivation was extremely terrifying. Lin Feng had noticed this cultivator before. This cultivator seemed to be able to communicate with some ancient battle spirits. Those battle spirits were extremely terrifying, and many of them had extremely powerful combat strength. This cultivator fought his way into the top 500 without encountering much resistance. Now, Lin Feng and this cultivator were engaged in a fierce battle. Both sides used all their techniques and were evenly matched. The cultivator fighting against Lin Feng seems to be called Zhan Chen. This person's origin is rather mysterious, but his combat strength is extremely heaven-defying. Someone once saw him fight against an emperor lord in the extraterritorial world and defeated him in the end. A cultivator said, "What? This person is so powerful." Immediately, a cultivator exclaimed. His face was filled with incomparable shock. Zhan Chen was very young. He seemed to only be around 1,000 years old, yet he was able to defeat an emperor lord. It was indeed very unbelievable. I hope Zhan Chen can defeat Lin Feng. It's best if he can kill this kid. The cultivators of the Sacred War Alliance said. They hated Lin Feng to the core. They didn't have the strength to defeat Lin Feng, so they could only place their hopes on Zhan Chen. They really hoped that Lin Feng would be killed by Zhan Chen. In this way, they would have one less big problem to worry about. The battle between Lin Feng and the battle spirit attracted the attention of many people. This duel could be considered a rather eye-catching one. After the two sides exchanged more than 100 blows, Lin Feng found an opportunity to send Zhan Chen flying. He quickly rushed towards Zhan Chen, wanting to defeat him in one fell swoop. However, at this moment, an extremely terrifying aura surged out of Zhan Chen's body. 10,000 battle spirits. A deep voice suddenly resounded between heaven and earth. Zhan Chen had used an extremely terrifying divine ability. A mysterious world appeared behind Zhan Chen. That mysterious world exuded an extremely ancient aura. In that world, terrifying living beings appeared one after another. Each of these beings had the strength to reverse the universe. When Lin Feng saw these terrifying beings, he couldn't help but frown slightly. Those terrifying beings, each of their auras was stronger than the other, and their strength was more terrifying than the other. Moreover, these beings weren't illusory existences. They were all battle spirits. Battle spirits and primordial spirits were essentially the same, but battle spirits were infused with battle intent. Therefore, their attack power was much stronger. A total of 99 battle spirits appeared in that ancient world. Each of these battle spirits was stronger than the other. All 99 battle spirits were summoned by Zhan Chen. The 99 battle spirits floated behind Zhan Chen. Each of them exuded the power to distort time and space. I can communicate with battle spirits. I control the power of 99 battle spirits. What do you have to fight me?